The final round of the Clubsport Series, powered by DGFX, sees the teams, the drivers, head themselves up to Watkins Glen International. 2.4 hours coming up next here on RacespotTV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Welcome to upstate New York, and welcome to the final round of the Clubsport Series, powered by DGFX. Wilvinson, Cam Walsh here as we wrap up what has been a fantastic season so far. Before we go any further, shout out Iswan Balao, TrackCams22.com, Andreas Warner, and One Design, the official graphics partner of RacespotTV. Development, of course, by Simon Grossman, Actioneering.com, and Nick Fissam for RacespotTV, live timing and scoring. Well, this is where we are in terms of the championship. Of course, we've got two different championships going on at once. Let's start with the club, and Fitzy Motorsports leading the way, 336 points over Low Racing. Huge Ass in third place, with Fusion Black in fourth, and Team Vikings rounding out your top five. Well, Cam, Fitzy out front, they are looking as though they've got at least one hand in the championship. Behind, however, it's still pretty close, especially Low Racing, Huge Ass, and Fusion Black.
Yeah, and we've hit both of these teams, pretty much all these teams have had at least one DNF at some point, or a DNS. And, well, that means that pretty much anything can happen. I think there's a lot of things that can certainly happen. And when you add Watkins Glen International, especially without the chicane, you're going to have a very interesting challenge ahead of you.
Let's move over and have a look at the sports standings. And it's worldracing.info who are leading the way in the championship, 280 points over WR Racing B with 259, Fusion Red and third, Berlin Sim Sports 137 and fourth, and Disabled Motorsports, they round out your top five, Cam.
Yeah, and of course, it's always a massive challenge, especially when you have a slower car, to try and figure out who can dominate, because the cars are mostly always so close together. It's who can manage to make their way through, who can actually put the challenge in, and what of course, track prefers. So here at Watkins Glen, I think everybody just about is used to racing this circuit, so we should get the best out of everybody, I would presume.
Yeah, just having a look down Got a couple of teams with no points so far, but hey, let's gloss over that one for the moment. And let's take you to your starting grid for this evening's event. And we are going to start by having a look with the club class. And huge ass, 146.296. Apex Racing Group GT Red in second place. Then F4H Motorsports Redgate in third. Fitzy Motorsport then on the outside of row number 2, Cam.
Yeah, and I think for me, having the Porsches up front right here is going to be pretty all right. Fitzy is going to be starting back in fourth. That, to me, is going to be kind of the important one because Watkins Glen is fairly notorious, at least I think, for first lap incidents. Now, without that chicane, it might be a little better, but still, you got to keep an eye out, make sure everyone gets through cleanly here at the start.
Yeah, but it's also worth noting, Fitzy don't have to win the race to win the championship here today. They can just sit there and cruise. Fourth place will probably pretty much be enough for them, Cam. They don't have to go and win this race, and that's the thing. P number 4, at least on the top 2 rows ahead of the potential carnage.
Yeah, I mean, they got a pretty good chance of missing it, but you never know when it happens. That second place car, the Apex Racing Group GT Red, can most certainly try to work their way onto the inside and see if maybe they could hopefully not get involved in an incident, but you never know what might happen. For whatever reason, Watkins Glen International tends to bring out the very aggressive nature of the racers. I don't know why. It just tends to. I don't know if it's because so many stock cars run through here. Perhaps it wears off on the drivers and they get used to it. I don't know, but it always tends to bring out something. And then obviously once you start getting into the multi-class, we don't have a ton of MX-5s here. We got 7, Will, but you never know what can happen. Yeah,
indeed so. And there are the top 4 drivers in your sport class. Disable Motorsport, Daniel Holtzell leading the way, 287.302. And 8th of a second back, it is WR Racing B, Fusion Racing in 3rd, Fusion Red in the 4th position. There's the remainder of those qualifying timers up for you. 6 of them have done a qualifying lap. Sim Sport News Race Team in 5th, and World Racing.info in 6th. Let's now have a look at the track conditions here today. Watkins Glen International, as we say, 2.4 hours worth of racing, 16-mile-an-hour wind, and it's cloudy and moderately humid, Cam, at 40 degrees. Track temp is low at 75 degrees Fahrenheit. But air temp.
Low for upstate New York. It is hot, though, actually. It has been around the low 80s, just touching the 90s lately, the last couple, 3-4 days. But no, it's 75 degrees. It's a nice, beautiful day here in what you would call upstate New York. We call the Finger Lakes region, wine country of New York. And, we'll see what these guys can do. They're all stacked up behind the pacing car, ready to take one more tour around this lovely circuit before we get underway.
Yep. So there we are then. Welcome to the final round of the series. 2.4 hours coverage today, presented by DGFX, powered by DGFX. RacespotTV timing and scoring will be available. Different address today is Racespot.tv/live. By the timing and scoring, that'll be up on your screen throughout the race anyway. And talk about the aggressive nature of this track, Cam. It's also a very narrow track, and a lot of people don't realise how narrow it is until you're racing. Those MX-5s, though, they might be going 3 wide in the first couple of laps, especially as they head themselves into the carousel.
I would expect these guys to be going 3 wide very early on, especially, getting these MX-5 cars, the Cup cars. I've seen both racing around the circuit in person. This track is always racy when it comes to cars that are very similarly spec'd. You put any racing car on this circuit, and it always is extremely tight. It's the draft. Everyone can suck right on up to each other. We don't have the carousel to help kind of nurture everyone being close together. But for the most part, what we end up happening is you always get these dramatic races. We've seen that in stock car. We've seen it in IndyCar open wheel. We've seen it in, Formula One all those years ago. And we see it in, IMSA and everything like that. And, of course, for the GT3s that race in support of IMSA. And so I'm not expecting anything else different, but when you add these MX-5s, these guys are going to be racing as hard as can be. There's only 7 of them. They're going to put on a good show. You're going to get these Porsches. They don't want to lose out because the speed difference, it's not too substantial, but it is noticeable.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you get into the boot section of the racetrack, turn number 7, that's always the toughest corner, I'd say, on this racetrack to try and pass the MX-5s. The other one's turn number 11, Cam. Actually, those last 3 corners can be tough, but turn number 11 is always an interesting one.
Yeah, that setup is, who's that? That's F4H Motorsport Redgate. He's trying to sneak out on the outside there. He's letting huge ass knows he's there. It is one of those tricky sort of situations. The track isn't extremely wide. As huge ass almost thought about taking the chicane. No, buddy, it's not there today. It's one of those situations where that boot section hasn't really, outside of the sports cars and the IndyCar, not normally used, so it doesn't get the widening that you would normally expect with track improvements and everything like that. And then you get to the situations where that last, three, I'd actually honestly say the uphill there, turn 9, pretty much going right before you even head there. Turn 9 is very difficult. You're uphill, you're rejoining onto the cup circuit, which flattens out, so there's actually a little bit of a dip. And it's a very difficult sort of situation. Getting traction, you're on the mechanical grip, and it can always have troubles.
Yeah, indeed. So half a lap then until we start this event. 2.4 hours. That equates as 2 hours and 24 minutes worth of racing here this evening at Watkins Glen International. As the car's now just working themselves down what I like to call the third straightaway, that short little run between the heel and the toe. The toe and the heel even of the boot section of this racetrack. It is, of course, Huge Arse who will have the inside of row number 1. And then V-Apex Racing Group GT Red alongside them at the front. Let's get ourselves then ready to go racing. Watkins Glen International, 2 hours, 24 minutes. And it starts live now with some RacespotTV fan immersion. Good, clean start for the most part then. Huge ass then. Jeff Tyler behind the wheel of that one. He has the early advantage, Cam. 5 times per second over V-Apex Racing Group GT Red, but they have been pressured by F4H Motorsports Redgate in the opening part of this run.
Yeah, and just as I said right at the start there, that Iric Smith of V-Apex Racing Group, he tried to go to the inside. Speaking of which, there's the F4H Motorsport Redgate. He leaves it as late as you can. George Grouper gotten a good look on that one, and Eric Schmick then goes down one position. I was looking at the MX-5s as well, as the Torque Freak car now wants to put Christian Mikkel on the defensive. The MX-5s, they almost had a bit of an incident going up the S's. They did not. It all worked out, but even those guys being doing an aggressive start. Yeah,
Fusion Racing's gone to the front of that one. As we see, battles will continue for them as they head themselves now down towards the end of the boot section of the racetrack. Fusion Racing having to stay. Disabled Motorsports are right behind, but they put the pressure on as they come down into that uphill, difficult turn number 9. Very close then in terms of your MX-5s, but lap number 1 complete. Up the hill they come once again. Live timing and scoring is available in about 20 seconds time. Visit RacespotTV/live for that one here this afternoon. As well, Cam, you've got ourselves about a 5-car breakaway right now in terms of your club classification.
Yeah, most certainly, and I think that's only going to get more and more as we have a fight for the lead in MX5s. Neil Andrew has Daniel Hozel on his outside as Stefan Nobles is looking on. There you go. So that's going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to see that a lot, I think, through as they're almost looking to go 2x2 up the S's. That is a massive danger zone. You cannot go too wide up the S's comfortably because of the tunnel that goes underneath the S's. That really narrows the track up. These guys are going to make it work. No problems there, but once the club cars start getting involved, it's going to be a problem. And as you said, you got about that 5-car breakaway, and Jeff Tyler and Rouge Ferreira are kind of the ones enjoying the biggest of that gap.
Well, here come the Mazdas 2x2 towards the carousel. And it's looking pretty close there. 4 drivers separated by 0.3 per second. Break it into the carousel, and the winner that time, Fusion Racing, will get the advantage as they work through the carousel. Disabled Motorsports right behind them at number 178, looking to the outside as they'll come into that downhill, difficult left-hander at turn number 6. To go back, though, and have a look what's going on, we've got a car off. Fitzy Motorsports are off. We said that, you know, if they just stayed in 4th, they'll be fine, but all of a sudden, Fitzy Motorsports having issues.
Yeah, and that is simply because they touched that outside grass. That happens a million times. We always see this at Watkins Glen. You take that 9 to 10, you just throw it on in there. Now, of course, that is, of course, why they paved over that entire area, I believe, the year after that. So we still obviously are running a very older version of the Watkins Glen International, and Fitzy Motorsport proves once again why they repaved over that. It is so easy to touch the right side of that grass.
You see, I'm one of those people, Cam. Yeah, okay, we pave over it. But you know what? I like grass on tracks. I always have. And, you know, you have a look at so many racetracks over the years that have lost so much character. Like Spa, for example, the gravel trap at Air Rouge. You've had so many tracks almost losing part of the character that when they first built, they were there for a reason.
Yes, but ultimately this was a proper safety. As I'm watching the MX-5s, this once again Daniel Hozel is going to try to go around Neil Andrews, so we're doing a replay of the lap before. But it's one of those situations where it's a safety because you're going very fast through that what essentially is a blind right-hander, and if somebody's crashed there and they are going to get shot out across the track as Disabled Motorsport gives a tap going up the S's at 104 mile an hour, which can't have felt too good. And then obviously you can the potential for having further incident just increases exponentially. So I'm perfectly happy with that one getting widened out. There's a couple of changes that have been made at Watkins Glen, some widening, etc., etc. But for the most part, it is really spiritually a very similar track that it has been the entire time.
Yeah, indeed. Side by side, then Fusion Racing, Disabled Motorsports inside line for the carousel for Disabled Motorsports, but they lose out as they come down into that left-hander at turn number 6. Back up, though, to your club division. Huge Ass is leading the way right now. 0.4 per second, almost half a second over F4H Motorsports. And actually, more importantly, after they made that pass on that number 1 cam, they pulled out a 1.1 second advantage over the Apex Racing Group GT Red. So it is 2-car breakaway now out front.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys are even doing a little bit of that leaning left and right, going down the front stretch, trying to break a little bit of that draft, which I don't think is going to work, guys. Sorry. But, no, these Porsches are running extraordinarily strong here at Watkins Glen. They're kind of a car built for it in a way. You know, that rear engine, of course, the big rear spoiler, runs comfortably here. And I have to say, for Jeff Tyler and Roy Ferreira and Eric Smith, these guys are doing very good to get themselves away. You know, it is pretty much a 1-2-3 breakaway. Then you got George Gruber and Lars Moldenhauer. I mean, that's 2 Torque Freak racing cars. So, you know, the Porsche cars, there's a little bit of damage I'm seeing, and the Team Vikings Ragnarok machine, and I think one of the other cars, Yes Rock Racing Blue 22. So a little bit of a beating and bang, and I think perhaps at the early stations in the back of your Clubman's division. But for the most part, I have to say we got a pretty good start, obviously outside of Fitzy Motorsport.
Yeah. Motorsports battled the German teams right now, actually. P number 11 and P12 on track. They've been going at it. They just swapped positions, actually. German Sim Racing losing a position to the Berlin Simsport car. So that's been going on. Let's go back though and have a look as they go up the hill again in your sport division. On board Disabled Motorsports, as we'll have a car on his right-hand side. as they head themselves towards the carousel. That's close.
He almost said, these guys have been doing this every single lap. It's only a matter of time before something happens. And Stefan Nobles and Neil Middleton are also doing this as well.
Yep, as let's actually have a look still. And Disabled Motorsports win out that time by. So that's that very difficult downhill off camber right hand. That's one of these things worth talking about, Cam, is that every corner here has some degree of camber in it.
Well, it's not just camber, it's elevation change. A lot of people grew up playing old Watkins Glen and, other racing games growing up, and they never, ever did anything about the elevation change. You would have thought it was pretty much flat, except for the S's. The S's is always uphill, and that's about it. I've driven on this racetrack. You have no idea how much elevation change you're actually going through. I actually was looking at an elevation map yesterday because I, of course, purchased my tickets to go to the 6 hours yesterday, so I got all the information, and the amount of variation, and you're always going either up or down. There isn't a straightaway here on this track that isn't uphill or downhill.
Yeah. It's a bit like Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, actually. Oh, there's a tap. And there we are. And does he save it? No. Disabled Motorsports into the wall.
And that was, I said about maybe about 3.3 miles before that these guys are going to be doing this to each other at some point. And I'm surprised Neil didn't, he kind of stayed right on in it, and it looked to me almost like the disabled car could have maybe straightened it out, but he got a bit of a helping hand from that 122 the second time.
Yep. Having to reverse, and ironically it got even worse for him because then he starts dealing with all the traffic from the club division.
Yeah, and of course they're going around him right now. He's got everybody clear, minus 1, 2, 3 machines going up the S's.
Oh wow! On the grass, F4H there.
Which car?
That was the F4H car. They were on the grass passing some of these Mazda MX-5s.
Yeah, these it can certainly happen, and their MX-5s aren't necessarily helping because they're going side by side by side by side by side by side. They're almost going 3 wide as they're heading their way into the entry into the boot, which is a massive downhill. Here comes the Torque Freak car as that has taken off a position from that the WR Racing B MX-5. Actually, that's not the Porsche, but they look similar. But no, it is certainly trying to manage that traffic.
And the best team out of that one was VAPEX Racing Group GT Red. They actually gained a second on your top 2 drivers as that all kicked off. So Hugh Jars continued to lead from Redgate in terms of your club division with VAPEX Racing Group GT Red in 3rd, Torque Freak Racing currently in 4th, Torque Freak Racing in 5th right now with German Disaster Racing in the 6th position. But your top 2s become a top 3, although VAPEX Racing GT Red doesn't seem as though it's got the raw pace of the other 2. He's lost a second this lap.
Yeah, and it could have certainly been just from a hiccup from the MX-5s, but overall, I mean, it basically has just been the 1 and 2, Jeff Tyler and Roy Ferreira. Roy Ferreira? I'm not sure. I'm sure, Will, you being the expert in knowing how to pronounce these people's names, we're certainly going to handle it, of course, the Iberia driver, but either way, those 2 cars are seeming to pull away from Eric Smith, but ultimately, I think that right after position 3, that's where they hit the MX-5s, and going up the S's, you can see how much of a distance that put between 3 and 4.
Yeah, it did indeed. As we're having a look right now at Reverend Racing, the number 91 machine. That's how you say car driver names, by the way. If you don't know the name, it's the number 91 machine in this case.
There you go.
It's Kanky Patty in the number 91 car, just heading himself, closing up to within 4 tenths per second over German Disaster Racing. Not able to do anything, though, into the carousel. Battle going on for 6th place on track. We've even got battles going on at the rear of your field. That's Berlin Simsport versus Berlin Simsport right now.
Yeah, and that's actually your 2nd place in the championship car right there. That's your winner at Zolder, is the Lowy Racing Berlin Simsport machine of Tony Loish. So we'll see. Obviously, I would say if I was Anders Christensen, I mean, hey, take a look at the opportunities here. It looks to me like Fitzy Motorsport is going to be completely out of this one. And Low Racing, they're stuck back there in 11th position. I can't say that they're going to have a good run here because obviously they don't seem to have the pace. But you know what? Try to do as much as you can.
Yep. As your top 4 or 5 drivers in your sport division are still going at it. They're all within 1 second of each other. Of course, then you've got Disabled Motorsports. They are 20 seconds back right now. Just actually wanting to keep an eye out on them the next time they come past the line, because that way we'll see how much time they're losing on a lap-by-lap basis, Cam. Because Disabled Motorsport, I mean, these MX-5s can take a big wallop and still drive.
Yeah, and it nosed into the tire barrier, so, I mean, it shouldn't, in theory, be terrible, but you never know. And, of course, they're only going maybe 100 mile an hour, so they will slow up. As the World Racing.info machine of Sari Pakodnia is really worked his way through these couple of cars these last couple of laps after getting, he got a bit of a shove as they were just entering the boot section. And he kind of had to back off through the carousel and lose all those positions. Now he's going to go look for the lead here. These cars are running through. A little bit of a gap between the disabled cars, and also the Simsport News race team car is a little bit off as well. But you know what? He's just coming off of 11. We'll see what it is. Yeah,
on board then with worldracing.info. Just saw on your ticker, Team Vikings have lost a position to the Berlin Simsport car. So all of a sudden, Berlin Simsport moving up from your field, but they are still, is worth noting, 15.4 seconds behind. Huge ass already. As are we going to go 3 wide? I think we might just stick it 2x2 for the moment then. 4 drivers. You know what? They really should just make a series of having 2 drivers. 2 cars, 2 drivers, and they've got to basically bump each other around. It could almost work.
Basically a duel at that point.
Yeah. But having a look then, on board still with that number 189. Go! That's a bit of argy-bargy.
Yeah, a little bit of argy-bargy. He could have reached out and moved the mirror at that point on the opponent's machine.
Yep.
I was thinking perhaps what could happen, you could have the 2 drivers in a fast car, like the Porsche or a GT3, and then have like 95 MX-5s driving around. And then, right? Hey, that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, that could work. Out front, Huge Ass continues to lead the way. Redgate, F4H Motorsports, they are in second place. Let's go on board then with Redgate for the moment. Gap is half a second right now as they work towards the carousel. Up to 165 miles an hour. You can see the draft kicking in big time now. Getting out the gas early though is that Redgate car over Huge Ass. He knows that you're not going to make a move into the carousel. No point trying to overshoot the corner.
No, the only machines you're going to be able to do that in is high downforce machines. You know, your Lotus 79, your Nissan GTP, from the Camel division, your prototype machines. Your Indy car, I think you can really wing it too, and I think you've seen in the Drivers' World Championship Series, whatever iterations they have been over the last many, many years, Will, that certainly you can try to go on the outside, but typically when you get into super high downforce, like your Formula machines, they can really take the inside line away and pretty much stay there at their leisure. But, the carousel, especially when you don't hit that bus stop, it always is a little bit of a surprise, and especially because people don't realize this. It's almost a bowl, really, that carousel.
Yeah, it is completely. German Disaster Racing have lost the position now to Reverend Racing. So Rich is now down into the 7th place in that number 42 machine. German Sim Racing, just having a look down a little bit. They are still in the 12th position. It's the other Berlin Simsport car they're now fighting with. They've been fighting basically with other German teams all race long, Cam.
Yeah, most certainly. And, I would say that they probably do know each other. The Porsches are fairly spread out, I think, at this point. Your leaders are going just up the S's, and your last couple of Porsches are just taking corner number 11, at least according to my track map. But the group that hasn't, obviously, is your other cars. And here comes Fitzy Motorsport. Christian Mikkel, he is now swarmed by MX-5s. He manages to get through on the stretch between the toe and the boot. And so there you go. Fitzy Motorsport is repaired and back out on the racetrack.
Yep, as they are back away, but they are classified right now as quite a few laps down, shall we say. Let's get that 6 laps then behind your race leader as it stands. So Fitzy Motorsport going to have to rely on a lot of luck now if they're going to do anything here today. F4H Motorsports Redgate are right behind Huge Ass this time as they work themselves back end of the racetrack. As well, you see, they're within half a second all the way around, wondering maybe, are they just trying to save a bit of gas here, Cam?
I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, I think with these Clubsport machines, the fuel. This is like one of the type of the cars where the fuel is actually in the trunk.
Yeah.
Where they have to actually like lift the section of it and actually put the fuel into it. So I'm not sure if these are jugs. Or if these are not. Somebody's had an incident going up to the S's. 2-car incident, World Racing Info, and that is one of your other machines, the Fusion Racing car. So this has been a big, huge incident right at the front of your MX-5.
Yep, replay's up for you now then, and this was coming up. Oh, just complete lack of room on the exit of turn number 1 by the exit of it. And that was just a messy crash. Here we are, on board Fusion Racing, in towards turn number 1. Yeah, at some point, someone had to give a bit of room there.
It was pretty obvious the Fusion machine had no intention of pulling him in, and it was a bit like MX-5, where there's that game or the MXC game on it was a Spike back when, where you had to get out of the way of the giant falling rock, and well, 189 machine of World Racing Info needed to get out of the way of that, or just go take it to the grass. I mean. Then they just got themselves involved. Not what you want to see, especially when you only have a 7-car field. Let's be real here.
Yeah, indeed so. And now you've got 1, 2, 3 cars in your lead group. So basically, everyone right now in your lead group in that MX-5 field will get a podium. Happy days.
Hooray!
Although you've only got 2 of them now within draft range, because actually the SimSport News race team has fallen back to 2 seconds behind Cam.
Yeah, and the 178 machine is getting swarmed right now by your Porsches. That's, of course, Daniel Holzel. That's the machine that had that earlier incident. And then there's another one that is your World Racing Info machine that was just involved in that incident. So some damaged MX-5s that these Porsches are going to have to drive around. Not necessarily what you want to see, especially when your leaders in your Porsche are so very close and they're about to come upon the remaining group of the MX-5s.
Yeah, worth noting, by the way, Disabled Motorsports. They're losing somewhere between 1 and 3 seconds a lap right now in terms of the damage they have to that car over the World Racing.info car. So that Disabled Motorsports car is damaged, but it's just going to try and ride out towards the pit stop because it does take a while to repair these MX-5s. As, yeah, Porsches all around them.
Well, no, Porsches are going up the S's. Your lead Porsches, they're finding MX-5s up the S's. That's the most dangerous spot you can do. Here we go down the backstretch, and there goes Huge Ass to the grass. There goes 4H to the inside, and they will get themselves together, and here we go.
Battle for the race lead. On the outside goes F4H Motorsport. Not able to do that. That one does, though, deserve a replay, because that was all the way onto the grass with Huge Ass.
Yeah, that was pretty scary right there. That could have ended in tears for pretty much everybody if that car came across the track. But no, he went right to the grass there, and the 4H machine went to the inside. And then obviously having the speed through as they're continuing, they bump a little in the toe, but outside of that, nothing crazy. But that certainly could have been bad.
Yeah, as we go back then to have a look at that second place driver, F4H Redgate. Pereira looking anxious all of a sudden. All of a sudden it seems to be, okay, maybe I will make a pass over you. And that number 17 car has got the speed on track. You can definitely say that. But the Dick Insider car just ahead of him, however. I think Huge Ass is also just taking it easy at this stage. In some ways, because they know now they've got 5 seconds over everyone else.
Yeah, and I think from what I'm seeing here, looking at this Huge Ass machine, is that I think I can figure out why they haven't been able to pull away, and that's because they don't have a RacespotTV sticker on their machine.
They did once, didn't they?
Yeah, they did once, but also, I just turned my camera to the side. I didn't realize that the F4H machine is an anime car, so excellent, wonderful.
Yep.
Well, there you go. I think those two conditions are why the Huge Ass machine is under such pressure.
Yeah, anime and the lack of a RacespotTV sticker. It always will be a factor. As we just zoom in, actually, then. Yeah, you're right.
Don't ask me what character that is. I don't know.
Where's William Levesque when we need him?
Right?
Down towards the carousel. These two will go once again. Nothing happening, nothing changing between these lot. The Berlin SimSport number 23 machine continuing to try and work through the field a little bit. Just having a look, though, they've fallen behind, as they're now dealing with all the traffic, fallen behind the Team Vikings car. They're 1 second back from them.
Yeah, and I think it's all where you gather up that MX-5 block, which is now whittled away, unfortunately. But for Tony Loish of that low-wee Berlin SimSport machine, he should be able to catch up. I mean, there is some front-end damage on that number 2 machine of the Team Vikings Ragnarok machine of Erling Bomer. So we'll see what they can do going as they throw their machines up into the toe of the boot. Want to keep it on the concrete, which the Berlin SimSport machine does not. That's why he washes out.
Yeah, also worth noting, I think there was an incident, by the way, to that Berlin SimSport car, because it lost 2.5 seconds that last time by, which is about the same amount of time as if you accidentally just turn right and go into the bus stop. To put it into perspective.
Now, we do have some race control stuff to take care of. They investigated an incident on lap 2 for turn number 1. Unsafe driving. They gave a warning to the number 22 machine. That is, of course,
SROC.
Yep, that's the SROC Racing Blue. And then the Fusion Racing machine causing a collision. Stop and go. Lap number 10, turn 10. So I'm sure the Fusion Racing machine will be right in pit road. I'm pretty sure it will. It's also not going to be leaving pit road anytime soon.
Yeah, the Moat F Racing podcast team are on pit road. Let's have a look at this car. I don't think there seems to be much damage to it. So maybe they're just inverting their strategy here.
Most certainly, the My Opinion and Therefore Fact podcast. Well, I mean, hey, you do you. But the number 88 machine, I do like the colors, though. Looks very much like a good old cup car, like you would see anywhere around any racing circuit around the country. So David Lee Patterson, he'll get tires, which is surprising to me. I don't think these guys need tires, but maybe the fuel just takes that long.
Minutes?
They might.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to need tires, but yeah, I'm quite surprised. I think the fuel might be the jugs or not. I don't think it's a fuel flow device. I think it's, though they are there on the pit wall, so I'm not sure. Someone's going to have to let me know.
Yep, pit stop time going up to 50 seconds, 50.7 out and away then for David Lee Patterson, number 88 machine. Back out onto track, of course, and get social with us. Like us on, of course, YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Get us to 10k subscribers before someone else does. Then, /RacespotTV on Facebook, at RacespotTV on the Twitter machine. Let's go and have a look then. Berlin SimSport behind Team Vikings. They've closed it back up now to 0.3 of a second after their earlier incident, which dropped them back down into P number 10, of course, rather pitting that now P number 9. Team Vikings, however, they're going to have to play defense, I think, up the hill this time.
Yeah, most certainly, especially with that damage not helping with the aerodynamics. There is still a good old train of 1, 2, 3 for the MX-5s fighting for the lead right now. But yeah, here comes Bomer. Bomer's going to have Loish right behind, and here comes the BSS machine. He should be able to get right on through. He's already going a little bit faster through the S's, and the S's are all of what that pilot can do as far as grip goes. So very close to where the tunnel wall goes, but it's not going to matter. Here comes the Berlin SimSport machine.
Yeah, and he's going to find an easy way past up to 160 miles an hour. Gets it nicely in towards the braking zone over the Team Vikings car. Nicely done then. Move them up into P number 8, and that was an important pass for them.
Yeah, most certainly, because now they have the German disaster racing machine not that far up ahead. I mean, they can almost see each other as they're working their way through. They just can't yet. They're just out of visual range, but with the German disaster racing, which I can only say is I imagine that is what, Chris Krinkle, like on the front of the hood of that machine. I haven't necessarily figured that out yet. Chasing down the Reverend Racing Porsche. If these two guys start battling with each other, that could certainly allow Tony Loish to get in.
Yeah, we're actually on board right now with the German disaster racing team over Reverend Racing. Gap is 0.8 of a second, you're right. The more these two start to battle up, the more it will help the Lowy Berlin SimSports car. So we'll keep an eye out on that battle as we work towards the end of the lap. For those of you who are keeping count, this is on to lap number 15 here at Watkins Glen International. We've done the 24 minutes part now, so it's under 2 hours to go in this event. We'll run through your top 8 in each class. Well, I say top 8, of course, in the sport class. There's only 7 of them, but we'll run through that one in just one moment's time. But Cam, in the meanwhile, I'm wondering whether any of these other teams are going to go off sequence a little bit.
Well, I mean, with the Porsches, you pretty much got what you would expect as a full field. 15 machines. I would say you can certainly try and get yourself some open track space, no matter what you're going to run into the MX-5s. And I hopefully mean that figuratively, not literally, as here comes Fitzy Motorsport to the inside, going up the corner number 9 right now, as they're going to sneak on right behind, slot in between the WR Racing B MX-5, who is your current leader. But I don't see why you wouldn't try. I mean, go for it. I would certainly not put on tires. I would wait for an hour, I would think, before I would even consider putting on tires. So, but that's just me. And you never know. Perhaps when we saw that Moash machine coming in, perhaps they had really burned their tires up early on.
Yeah, and actually a lot of people say that these cars are actually far more stable with full fuel than they are when they actually have the tank run down a little bit. And that's going back to what you talked about earlier, the positioning of the fuel cell inside of these Porsches. Yeah,
most certainly. And I think actually if I'm thinking about it correctly, they actually pop the hood up the front, the actual hood, not where the engine is. And I believe that is where the fuel filling goes in. At least I think so. Yeah. I'm trying to go through my brain right now, but
right, you
can't really remember.
You do that. You work that one out. I run through your top 8 in each of your classes then. We're just over now, half an hour of this race scored complete, as we will have a look. Well, there's your top 3. We'll put that up for just 1 second. But down then in your club division, Huge Ass are leading over F4H Motorsports Redgate, via Apex Racing Group GT Red in 3rd place, Talk Freak Racing Blanchiment in 4th, Talk Freak Racing in 5th, Reverend Racing, German Disaster Racing, and Lowy Berlin Sim Sports. They are your top 8, as Redgate continuing to put the pressure on in that battle going on for your race lead right now. Then let's go back over to, a bit of a lockup actually, as well by the Huge Ass team. But let's now go back and have a look at the 7 drivers in your sport division. WR Racing are now leading the way. It's worth noting that Sim Sports Racing have got themselves back up within your kind of lead gaggle, which has got Fusion Red in 2nd, and then Sim Sport News Race Team in 3rd, WorldRacing.info in 4th, Disabled Motorsports in 5th, then Fusion Racing and Clubsport Admins. They are the 7 drivers. Of course, Clubsport Admins don't actually take part in this event. They're just there, as the 999 machine. So that is the situation after half an hour in this event. RacespotTV/live if you want to keep up to date with timing and scoring throughout the course of this race. Don't go to the normal page, otherwise you get another race's live timing. It makes no sense at all, Cam.
No, not at all. I mean, you'll see, certainly I'm sure, a battle, but it will never be as good as this one, because this one's at Watkins Glen. Yeah, that's only why. I mean, forget the Daytona prototypes and all that, where this is better, for sure. And, to be completely honest, I don't get to do enough 911 Cup races. I actually really like 911 Cup races, simply because, yeah, you can have teams and all that, but it really is up to the driver to get the speed out of these things.
Yeah, it is indeed. As we can see, a couple of damaged race cars. We've got this lovely camera.
Actually, hold up. We got a battle for the lead in the Porsches. The Huge Ass machine wasn't able to get a good exit because he had to go around the leaders in your MX-5, and that allowed Roy Fiera, after all this time, to get the position.
Let's get a replay, shall we? On board then with your new race leader up the hill.
See? The Huge Ass machine was expecting you on the outside of everybody, and the MX-5s went outside.
Yeah, he had to dance across then. That's the second time he went to the grass. They always say about traffic, be predictable, Cam.
Well, I mean, you could almost expect to be predictable. You try to maximize your exit speed, and in the MX-5, it's momentum. You're going to kill your momentum if you try to stay to the inside, because the track naturally washes to that left. So for me, I can understand the MX-5's going wide there. I mean, I would almost predict that, but unfortunately for the Huge Ass machine, not much he could do there if they had already made that decision. And you got to give the handout to the F4H machine. He did not just make that pass easy. In a way, Huge Ass Machine did, but he managed to make it.
Yeah, worth noting as well that these MX-5s, what they do, you're right, they haven't got the downforce compared to these 911, so they do naturally, as they come up the hill, they do push the left-hand side, and of course then, don't want to stay on the left-hand side because they need that turning arc into the carousel.
Yeah, most certainly, and you also got to worry about drafting, because if you stay to the inside, which of course you can force the car to do, the car's not going to fight against you to stay to the inside, but what you're going to do, though, since you take away the natural momentum of the machine rolling out to that far outside, you're going to lose a couple of miles an hour. That means in the MX-5s, when you got two machines right behind you, you're going to get swamped.
Yeah, and 2 miles an hour doesn't sound like a lot if you're in an IndyCar, but when you consider the percentage of speed lost in these MX-5s, it's far more difficult, and that's why I always say these are momentum cars, these MX-5s, and that's why actually they're really fun to drive around this track, because it's all about keeping up that momentum.
Yeah, anything is really fun around Watkins Glen, and I understand that that's a controversial point, which is stupid to me, but this is the explanation that I have to give. Watkins Glen International, as a racing circuit by yourself, not really that dramatic of a racetrack. You got a couple lefts, you got a couple rights. Most of it's right-handers. You can kind of pump up the air pressure on the left side, and you'll be pretty happy. Watkins Glen comes alive when you have multiple cars in your class racing with you. That is when it is one of the best tracks, I think, in the world you can race at, because it's so great. It doesn't matter what machine you're in. You can be in a Formula Ford. You can be in a Formula V, where the cars top out at like 90 miles an hour, and you can still have an amazing time around this racing circuit, even though I think it's like 112 they go. I don't know. But it's a great circuit, and of course, it only gets more entertaining as faster the cars get.
Yep. And that promotional material there for Watkins Glen International was not sponsored by Watkins Glen International.
I just thought about that. As soon as I stopped talking, I was like, boy, that's... they didn't give me a discount, for my tickets, my camping tickets. You could take a couple of dollars off Watkins Glen, I'm just saying.
Yep. German Sim Racing might push right now versus Berlin Sim Sports. The second of the Berlin Sim Sports cars. The one that doesn't have the nice rear end on it, I have to say. I do love the rear of the number 23 car. But the number 94 machine, a bit more, should we call it, plain and boring colours?
Yeah, it does kind of look like they went at it with a paintball gun at some point. I don't mean to be too decisive. I really like the rear of the number 99 machine, to be completely honest. Oh, goodness, we're talking about the rear ends. We're talking, of course, about the machine, right? We're talking about the racing machines, thank you. Yeah, that number 99, actually, that whole paint scheme is lovely, to be completely honest.
Yeah. It seems to be as well, that Berlin Sim Sports car, it's actually got two liveries kind of like mashed together, as you just see then, by the striping on the side of it. But yeah, there's a number 99 machine, and you're right, the kind of eagle effect they've got on the rear, that is an eagle, right?
Yep, something like that. Falcon, I don't know.
Falcon, eagle, bird. The bird on the rear of the car is great.
It's a raptor.
Ah, there we are. You see, I just talk about race cars. I don't know much about animals.
Yeah, it's I noticed like the splotchiness, but yeah, I didn't realize that the Lowy Racing and Berlin SimSport paint schemes kind of striped together. I don't think I've ever seen that before like that. That's actually really interesting.
Yeah, better than when BAR tried to do it in 1999 with their first Formula One car. Shall we say that one? But to go back to the point at hand, German Sim Racing were close to Berlin SimSport, number 94 machine, Anders Christensen, but can't do anything of that one. We are getting close, by the way, to our first round of pit stops. That'll be taking place in about 10 minutes time. So we're going to quickly step aside, take your RacespotTV. In fact, no, we're not going to do that. We are going to give you some RacespotTV fan immersion and a lap and a bit then on board with the team now in second place, the Dick Insider car of Huge Ass and Jeff Tyler. saw it on fan immersion. UJazz are back to the race lead, and that was all because of traffic once again. But F4H Motorsports, they are still looking close, within a third of a second as they move themselves even down towards turn number 1 once again. This is actually their 22nd lap they are now working on here at Watkins Glen. Fuel here will go for about 50 to 55 minutes. So what's going to happen soon is we are going to start seeing our first round of pit stops in about 10 to 13 minutes time. As up come the hill then is Ferreira, number 17 machine. He's got a good run actually. He's going to try and go back for the race lead. Oh, I think he is. He's going to look very close then to the inside, in towards the carousel. Pass is complete. But here comes UJazz then. He's going to, as the car of Redgate overshoots a little bit, UJazz has a chance to try and make the move back. Cannot do so. Although he's going to try the outside. He done that. What a move actually by UJazz being able to get that pass complete. That's going to be a replay on board with the UJazz team. That was spectacular. Yeah, just managed to work it around the outside then. That was a fantastic piece of work then done by that UJazz car of Jeff Tyler to be able to get himself back to the race lead. So technically now, we are up to 5 different lead changes today. Officially, we only have 3 because of the fact that, of course, we talk about lead changes at the start-finish line in American motorsports. But UJazz then able to get himself back to the race lead. But now we know there's a weakness on that number 33 car. Behind, we have, by the way, had ourselves a German disaster racing team come on toward pit road, make their first pit stop of the day. That's a 49.1 second pit stop. So some teams seem to just split it down into more equal chunks and try and do the fuel tank being burnt to the end and then basically doing a short fill at the end of the motor race. Don't forget also, driver changes will come into play here today as well. This is a team event, not a solo event. Here's the traffic. This time they all stay to the right-hand side. That helps UJazz and doesn't help the Redgate team, who has to stay behind into second place. Oh, we've got an issue. Reverend Racing turned around. Replay. Exit turn number 1. Onto that low curb. Spins it around. Can't hold on into the guardrail. One more look then coming for that one. But that, Reverend Racing, big issue for them. Having a look from up above. Aerial coverage today, of course, brought to you by And1 Design, official graphics partner of RacespotTV. There's the curb. There's the wiggle. They got Oculus Rift on the rear of that car. That would not have been fun to see in an Oculus Rift on board at all. But they are going again. Lots of damage, though, to that race car. And now we more of a case of just trying to keep it going towards the pit stop. But you can see there is a lot of damage on that front end of that car. The engine cover is taken off. Damage to the front end. It is still drivable, though. And that's one of the things that is worth noting, that these cars are still drivable, of course, due to engine placement on these Porsches. Historically, of course, it means that you don't really take as much away as you would do if it was to be a front-ended Corvette. Cam, are you back yet? No, he's not. Well, UJazz then on towards pit road. Let's ride that pit stop on board of them. The V-Apex Racing Group GT Red car is on pit road as well. Short stop. 15.4 seconds then for UJazz. No tyres, of course, for Jeff Tyler. That seems to be a very short pit stop for them. As let's have a look and get some comparisons. Here's the V-Apex Racing Group GT Red car. A longer stop, so maybe UJazz might be just getting this 24 minutes or so stint out of the way and then they'll do their driver change as they come towards the last hour. This is a much more reasonable stop then, as Enric Smith engage. It's the rev button, rev pedal even. Full service, more cars coming out around as well. There's been a driver change in this circumstance for them. New tyres for them as well. German Sim Racing have come out. Berlin Sim Sports have come out. The two Team Vikings cars have come out as well. 54.5 second pit stop for Enric Smith in the VAPEX Racing Group GT red car. Talkfreak Racing, Avion Rise right now has made a pit stop. They are in the 5th position. As the FOH Motorsports Redgate car is on the lane as we speak then, making a service. Are they going to go the same way as Huge Ass, or are they going to try and do something a little bit different? Try and break that strategy out for them. We'll find out now. On towards the pit lane. Here is Ferreira, number 17 machine. Fuel going in. Or no, in the next 2 seconds. If it's going to be a longer stop, and I think it is going to be a longer stop for them. Yep. 20 seconds. 21, 22, 23, 23.3 seconds then. Out and away, that number 17 car will come. So very interesting strategies going on right now between your top 3 or 4 teams, as SROC Racing Blue are on pit road. The lead of the race, by the way, for the time being, has gone to the Talkfreak Racing Blanchimont car. That's just because of the fact they haven't actually yet come on towards pit road. They probably will come on this time around. But what does mean is that Huge Ass now have a 14-second advantage over the Redgate team, which is pretty high, actually. I'm just having a look through because the pit stop was only 8 seconds shorter, so it must have been the other part of that service that really gained the time for Huge Ass. Of course, they have got a much lighter car than anyone else. They did come on a lap before as well, but we do need to keep an eye out on that one. As over in your sport division, Fusion Red continuing to lead the way over the SimSport News Race Team car, the number 116 machine of Jacob Toffs. In fact, let's actually ride a little bit then on board with that MX-5 of Toffs. And the Mazdas are onto the lane. Both in at the same time. Driver change being done for Fusion Red. Jonathan Darns getting in behind the wheel of that car. And it will be Gianni Quintella getting in behind the wheel of the number 116 SimSport News Race Team car cam. Nope. The pit stops then continue for both of these teams. 35 seconds. Each of them out and away though. First is going to be the Fusion Red team. They did a slower pit stop by 8 tenths per second, but they still come out with the class lead. As WR Racing B are on pit road as well. They've done a service time of 35.4 seconds. WorldRacing.info are on pit road as we speak. And here's the Fusion Red team then coming up the hill. Jonathan Darns behind the wheel of it now. And let's go back and have a look at the German sim racing team. Mike Buscher versus Anders Christensen. German Sim Racing versus Berlin Sim Sport. You got the Fitzy Motorsports car. They are trying to get, well, something out of this event. We've only had a couple of retirees here today. In terms, well, only one retiree actually in terms of your club sport division, and that is Reverend Racing. We saw them hitting the wall down at turn 1. Fitzy Motorsports actually then pushing the Berlin Sim Sport team pretty hard into that uphill turn number 9. German Sim Racing though with Mike Buscher 7/10 of a second back. They work themselves complete what will be their 26th lap even here around Watkins Glen International. As Torque Freak Racing, let's have a look at them. They are currently in 4th place. Avon Rise even versus their teammate of the Blanchimont team. They've been able to work themselves up, partially due to strategy a little bit. There's still a long way to go, of course, in this event. They did similar pit stop times, by the way. The Blanchimont team did themselves a 22.8 second pit stop. It's a 23.2 second pit stop for the Avon Rise team. So, Gruber, we're on board of him right now. And it's like last time around we didn't get a comparable lap time because of pit stops. But they are currently 15 seconds ahead of the Lowy Berlin Sim Sports team as they scrap it out for 3rd place on track for the moment. Cam, you're live.
You know, as it turns out, you were talking about how the huge-ass machine obviously had taken on a much lighter position. I don't think there's any competition for how light I am right now.
Well, German Sim Racing versus Berlin Sim Sport continues them as they work themselves through the boot section of the racetrack. Everyone's made one pit stop now, Cam, and what it essentially means, huge ass 4 seconds ahead of the Redgate team. However, Huge Ass last lap did a 156.894. They've had an issue on that last lap.
Yeah, I don't know if they had anything with an MX-5, but Jeff Tyler, he's obviously stayed inside that machine. Ferreira has also stayed inside his machine, so also, that was a little funny, if I can just say. But no, I look at it, and the gap is massive, so even if he loses a couple of seconds that last lap, or almost 10 seconds apparently, he's still got a very hefty 4.8 second gap at the line.
Yeah, so we're just having a look then at the replay from Huge Ass, see if there's anything that happened. I did see some tire smoke. Oh no, they lost it. They looped it around down at turn 6.
Which is a fairly easy and straightforward place to do that. You know, you lose the rear, it's going to happen. You get yourself straightened out and get back underway. Thankfully, didn't touch anything. That, to me, is the biggest thing. Yeah, that was important for them, actually. Let's have another look then from up above. Actually, we're not going to get there yet. We have got that angle, finally. A Huge Ass number 33 machine. Having to reverse. Thankfully, right at the point, there's also no tyre barriers as well. Kicks the back end out, and they are on track again. But now they are losing time to F4H, and that will hurt them later on. They only did a 15-second pit stop compared to a 23-second pit stop for Redgate. So what that essentially now means is that they've lost the race lead overall in long-term thinking. In the long term, yeah, because they're gonna have to have, you know, I get the idea, lighter fuel load, lighter car, much faster or more comfortable. Alternatively, you got to remember, the cars are different with different fuel loads, and so for me, I mean, it's going to be one of those situations where now what do you do? I mean, I would say your next pit stop, make it the long one, get yourself your tires, fill up the fuel tank to full, and see what you can do. Yep,
RacespotTV/live, of course, if you want to check out what's happening in this event. Fitzy Motorsports will not be last next time around, as that Reverend Racing team remain out of this event. Fitzy Motorsports then move up into 15th place in terms of classification. Fusion Red, though, have lost the lead in your sport division to SimSport News Race Team. On board then with the Fusion Red team. And well, Cam, it's just 2 people now out front. WR Racing B are in 3rd, but they're 4 seconds back almost.
Yeah, so the lime green cars, apparently that's the color that works here. But I think also it might have something to do with the pits that came in, because I'm pretty sure SimSport was sitting back there. But for Fusion Red, I mean, we'll see what these guys can do. I mean, what can you do? It's just you're constantly going back and forth. Here comes a group of Porsches. It is 2 Torque Freak Racing machines, Blanchimont and the Avon Rise, which basically Torque Freak always has a trend to kind of name their cars after what you would call spaceship battleships, as they go around both sides of one MX-5, even giving a little bit of a shot to the Fusion Red machine. And then they both go to the inside, and George Gruber, he had to hold on to it. He almost lost it.
Yeah, let's get ourselves a second look at that one. That was close, but fun to watch then from up above our aerial coverage, of course, and One Design. So you see they both closed. Big lunge, didn't work out for the Avon Rise team. And then they come into turn number 9. One on one side, one on the other. Oof. Nicely done there by Torque Freak Racing, though.
Well, you can tell they both wanted to see if they could get the advantage out of that one, and it's always good when you have something like that happen and then nobody seems to get ahead. That's always makes it very good, and also very unfortunate for the Reverend Racing Machine. I saw what happened to them on the replay, and I gotta say, that's a very tough incident. We've had that happen in stock cars. I think that was they made a change to how that configuration is very slightly to kind of prevent such a high force, high velocity impact into that wall that they did all those laps ago.
Yeah, but it's also worth noting, I mean, every team, every car I've ever seen run at this place, you always see one person have a crash, and that's because of the way that kind of that low curve is on the right of turn 1 on the outside. It forces you to be aggressive and use it. If you just get all 4 wheels kind of like in the wrong spots, however, the car basically just bottoms out and you lose all form of steering.
Yeah, and you either have to decide. All right, oh boy, I'm going to try to make a conversational piece that nobody's going to know what I'm talking about. You're just going to have to believe me. When you're water skiing, okay, and you're slalom water skiing, I know, right? The boat has the wake behind it, and you are getting pulled along by the rope, okay? You have to decide, am I going to be behind the boat, inside the wake, or outside the wake on the left or the right side of the boat? You can't sit on the wake. It's not possible. The curb at corner 1 is basically a wake. Really, it is. You have to decide, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to throw my car out there intentionally. As you can see, the Torque Freak cars are heading their way right now, Moldenhauer and Gruber. And so let's see if these guys take the same line or different lines. This is downhill, which you wouldn't know, just from how it looks, as you can see. They both kind of take a very similar line, but they go over that wake, and then they have to bring it in. Now, there is that patch of grass there. That patch of grass doesn't exist anymore. That is completely paved over. So if you do go outside, you can kind of come along. But it is a bit more of a more difficult merge, and obviously, of course, you got to be careful with traffic, which we've already seen in the MX-5 field. Yeah,
actually go on board with Fusion Red. Just want to say good luck to John Henry. Champions League final just taking place right now. Stick with us, don't watch them. But yeah, John Henry, of course, owns the Boston Red Sox. What are you looking at?
I'm sorry, that Fusion Red machine that we were watching almost got eaten by the Eric Smith machine. Then Eric Smith took a bite out of the eagle of the German sim racing blue machine. And also, hi, John Henry, give me Super Dirt Cars. So anyway, we're not supposed to say those things, are we? I'm in trouble now, aren't I?
You are.
Oh, well, that's okay. I'll take the penalty. Or whatever they do. Yeah, no, that was pretty dramatic there, those Porsches. I think for Eric Smith, he just had a heart attack here from the start-finish line to the top of the S's.
Yep, so there is Fusion Red. But yep, of course, Sean Henry owns Boston Red Sox. He owns Ralph Fenway, or part of Ralph Fenway anyway. And of course, Liverpool Football Club, who are battling it out with Real Madrid as it stands. V Apex Racing Group GT Red. Now, they did that long pit stop. The driver changed the tyres and everything count. That's why they're now down in P number 10. But they've got to make the most of these new tyres now. They're stuck behind German sim racing.
Plus, I think they picked up a little bit of damage when they took the rear of the Eagle out. I don't think the Porsche in front picked up damage, but at least from what I can see, there is a little bit of right front damage. It shouldn't affect anything. But, it is noticeable, especially when it comes to the draft. And I forgot that he owned that little soccer team across the pond as he tries to make a dive. No, what you can do, that was actually not, I'm not going to try to criticize here, but what you try to do is you swing all the way outside, slow up on the entry, accelerate on the inside angle of 10, and then you can kind of push to the outside going to 11, but and then force them to kind of either take defensive or not. As here we go once again, Mike Boucher is going to have to go to the inside, and there you go. There's Eric Smith. He finally got around, but I can certainly say that cost him more than he would have ever gained if he just didn't take tires.
Yeah, indeed so, and actually they lost about 4 tenths of a second to the Berlin Simsport car as well on that last lap, so not good then for the Apex Racing Group, trying to get back into the game after doing a slightly different strategy to everyone else. 1 hour of this race is scored complete now.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Who's supposed to win that football game?
One of the teams participating in it.
Well, I mean, hopefully. But like, are they like the favorite, or is this like a
Champions League final?
Or?
So, you know.
I don't know these
It's
things.
like the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So you can say that Liverpool are arguably the underdogs, but, you know, Philadelphia Eagles were the underdogs, weren't they, back in February?
I kind of forgot who played in the Super Bowl. Was it the Patriots they were against? Did
Yes.
they play the Patriots?
Yes.
See. Yeah, see, but no, and then they won, I think, right? Yeah, not the Patriots, the Eagles. Okay, all right, I'm good. I got this.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we're back. Sorry, I don't watch football anymore. Ever since I stopped on third shift, I don't listen to BBC 5 Live anymore, so I'm way out of the loop.
I don't think it's actually stylized as BBC 5 Live. But one thing that is worth talking about, F4H Motorsports Redgate, they're losing about a quarter of a second a lap right now. Not much, but it's enough.
I mean, certainly, and it's not what you want to see. I mean, the last thing you want to do is you want to try to make an interesting decision with the strategy, and then it just completely blow up in your face. And I will say for the huge ass machine, whatever they've had for, you know, that they lost that bunch of time spinning for taking the lighter fuel load. They're holding they're not really gaining for all the weight less that they have for the fuel. They're not really gaining anything on the F4H machine.
Yeah, indeed so. So we're having a look then at Reed Ferreira. 4.5 seconds is the battle going on right now. We're going to take a quick break here on RacespotTV TV and on iRacing Live, ladies and gentlemen. Take you at RacespotTV TV side by side. That means you won't miss a moment. We'll be back in just a few moments' time.
chair of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerrick at the line.
Back live here at Watkins Glen International. RacespotTV / live timing and scoring. On board with Eric Smith right now and the V Apex Racing Group GT Red Team. Trying to hunt down Berlin Simsport, battle for P number 8. Whoa, a little bit wide actually there by Berlin Simsport Cam, as they're struggling now. Of course, these teams on older tyres that didn't take tyres in that final pit stop. The tyres are fading away a little bit now.
Yeah, you certainly can feel it, but as you would expect after an hour and 5 minutes of racing, as the weather's still 75 degrees in the air, 84 degree on the track. You know, it's a little cloudy, nothing crazy though, so it's a beautiful day for us spectators and for, frankly, the drivers. But for me, it is, you know, the tires are going to be shot. These things are using slicks. You know, these are completely done straight up racing cars. It's not like the MX-5s. And, you know, it's having a good time. And honestly, here comes Eric Smith. He's going to try, and he just gets caught right up under the rear, and he's having a bit of a odd time trying to go up the S's. That's certainly an interesting line coming in and out of existence, but you know what? What can you do? As Christensen, he's trying to cover, and he's just going to stay to the outside line, and frankly, for the entry to the carousel, when you're in these Porsches, is the best way to do it. I can't imagine trying to take the carousel on the inside line.
It'd be hard, but pushing wide then is Berlin Simsport, and that allows the Apex Racing Group to go through. Yeah, that's what happens. You try and take the line you normally would. Doesn't work as well if you've done an hour and 8 minutes worth of racing.
Yeah, I mean, and those tires are going to be well shot. You know, and you know, I think it's a great thing. It's a great day here at the Watkins Glen International. It's getting busy at Watkins Glen, and frankly, all around the world for especially this weekend. I mean, we've already had a very busy weekend as far as commentary goes, Will, but getting ready for an even bigger weekend as the S-Rock Racing Blue locks up going into corner number 8, which is the heel of the boot.
Yep. We'll run for your top 8 in a few moments' time before the next round of pit stops. There's a battle going on. 2 teammates then still going at it. That's for 3rd place on track. But Gord Gruber is actually catching up again to Moldenhauer in the Tall Quick Racing Blanchimont team.
Yeah, and it's just this weird back and forth thing. I mean, it is good to see. It's a good battle. These 2 Torque Freak cars, as the damage obviously not slowing down George Gruber at all. And George Gruber, that you and I both know that he's fast no matter what he sits in, whether it's a GT1 Aston Martin, excuse me, or anything. But good to see him here in these Porsches doing good, even with a little bit of that damage.
Yeah, indeed. So as Gruber then looking as if he's going to stay behind for the time being. Let's keep a look then at your top 8 in each of your classes. As we've done now over an hour's worth of racing. It is, though, Huge Ass who are still leading the way by 7.5 seconds over F4H Motorsports Redgate. A couple of points about that one, Cam. First one, of course, is over the last 3 laps, last few laps even, Huge Ass has pulled up the gap by about 3 seconds. Secondly, it's still worth noting that the fuel difference was about 8 seconds. So right now, it'll be nip and tuck if the pit stops happen now.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the fastest lap times through here, and there's a couple laps ago on lap 36 for Ferreira. I had a paramedic who had that last name, and you'd think I'd be able to pronounce it. But he had a 2.5-second lap difference. That last time, lap 36, he ran a 1:49. So whatever happened on that lap is where the gap came by. Now, obviously, he didn't spin out and have an issue like Jeff Tyler did, but Jeff Tyler, that same lap, did a 1:47.2. That's been his fastest lap of the race.
1:47.241 to be exact. Talk Freak Racing Blanchemont third, Talk Freak Racing Avon Rise in fourth, Lowy Berlin Simmersport in fifth, Team Vikings in sixth, V Apex Racing Group, GT Red in seventh, and then Berlin Simmersport in the 8th position. Go and have a look what's going on in the world of your sport division. Well, Simmersport News race team continue to lead now over Fusion Red. They swapped that position count just after pit stops. Fusion Red even. They are still within the toe, however, so it's not the end of the world for them.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we've got a fairly hefty amount of this race to go, and anything can happen. I mean, we don't have a lot of MX-5s racing together, but what we do have is some damaged MX-5s that could certainly present an issue for any car that tries to get by it, not because they're dangerous or anything like that, as the leaders of the MX-5 are going to get passed this time by. There goes Jens Lehmann, and there goes Stefan Kempson. On the inside, going into the carousel, he had to abort that one. The Moab machine had to really just abort entry to the carousel. That's going to allow the German disaster racing car to basically run away with it. But I mean, I think for me, it's been one of those races where anything can kind of seem to happen, and it's been kind of one of those karmic races. Even though there's not a cars on track, everyone has had an incident at some point, I think.
Yeah. There's been 2 retirees in your Mazda field. They were Disabled Motorsport and Fusion Racing. And there we are. That's the abort that we just saw then. But then also, we've had 1 retiree in terms of your club division. That is Reverend Racing. The other big incident of the day, of course, is Spitzy Motorsports all the way down in P at number 15. Here this afternoon. It's huge ass on towards pit road and out of pit road for the second time here today. Huge ass did a driver change then, but they
31.
Sven Demel is in that car, 30.7 second pit stop.
When did Sven Demel start driving for huge ass?
I don't know.
Have they always? I don't know. I think this is the first time I've seen. What do we normally see Sven Demel in? It's normally a gray car.
Come on, I drink far too much to ever remember any of these things.
This is when we need other people who know these things.
Jake?
I know Sven Demel. I know Sven. He's a great guy. He goes to the inside of Erlen Bomer. Okay, well, moving on to that. Straighten out the tie that we're obviously wearing because we're wearing suits because we're professionals. As Sven takes over for that machine, well, you put a hot foot out, you put a hot foot in, and for Huge S, I mean, hey, it looks to me they're going to have a very good time, and I don't know who Ferreira's teammates are, but they got to be quick because Sven is one of the fastest people I can think of.
Yeah, so we're looking again at German sim racing. They're still behind Berlin Simsport right now, the 2 German teams battling it out with each other.
Yeah, and there are a couple of German machines here, as it looks to me like it is going to be that Eagle machine chasing down Anders Christensen. So German sim racing, Berlin sim sport, who knows to what. But either way, I think for me, this has been a good run here. I do have to say, there is it's the blue DGFX machine, is that German sim racing blue machine, which is a great thing to segue into, because honestly, this Club Sport series is quite fantastic. This is the first race I've seen in this format, but it is the season finale, which is odd enough. But it is a wonderful first step, as you can see the machine of Anders Christensen coming into pit lane. It's the first step in what you would consider the iRacing endurance series in a way, in a proper way. I mean, I understand that of a big statement, but really when you think of it, when you think of what you would consider professional endurance racing as far as iRacing goes, this is kind of that first step.
Well, I mean, that's the thing as well. And it's always interesting to see the kind of evolution of leagues and almost saying the word hierarchy is always a tough one to say, Cam, but there is a kind of hierarchy in terms of, the most competitive down to the most fun. I mean, there are some leagues that, for example, people racing because it's fun, less than a competition.
Absolutely. I mean, there are tons of leagues I can think of off the top of my head, all varying degrees of seriousness and entertainment. People just want to drive a particular type of machine. There's, the old, the FW31 machine has a pretty dedicated league. That's just for fun. There's nothing crazy about it. It's just people want to have fun. You have your absolute beginners league. You have your, of course, this Clubsport series, the DGFX, your more IMSA series, and then, of course, all the way up to the Neo Endurance series. That is as serious can get. It is, I would have to say, probably the most serious endurance racing series this side of iRacing, and I don't even think there's anyone even close to that, but you have, between all of that, just a complete smorgasbord of fun things. You've had series that are specifically just for people over the age of 60. I mean, it just is all over the spectrum, and it's a good thing, and honestly, watching these Porsches around, I wish I'd see these things more often.
Yep. We're looking again on board at Fusion Red. Every time we've shown Fusion Red, they've always had a swarm of Porsches just around them. So let's see.
Oh, we have an incident.
Yeah,
we've had an incident into the toe.
Oh, no.
Yeah, disaster. Disaster for the German Disaster Sim Racing. They have something. They did not crash there. They crashed in. Where did they crash? The beginning of the lap.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. Beginning of the lap.
Well, here we are on board then with German Disaster Racing. Get ourselves a replay. Yeah, they just pulled off. So they had an incident beforehand, which we're now going to
hardware failure. Yeah, go back to the beginning of their lap 41.
Yeah. Let's try and get another look at that one then. There we are, German Disaster Racing. We will get it this time. So here we are. This is down the front straight away. Talk us through it, Cam.
Everything's fine. Everything's hunky-dory. He goes past the start-finish line. He's just on the brakes now. Going into the corner, he takes that right-hander, and then he's getting straight. Everything's fine. Boom, hardware failure, and he immediately cranks it to the left, right into the wall. That's that. Nothing you can do about it. Completely sudden. No room to react to. I mean, what can you even do? You talk about, how it's some racing can be unrealistic because it doesn't have small failures. Well, that's not a small failure right there.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. What it does mean, it will help Fitzy Motorsports. And, of course, every point matters right now for them. In fact, Fitzy Motorsports, I would say, Cam, will probably be the only team that's happy about that because, every point for them at this stage, being so far down the field here today, is so important for them.
Yeah, critical. I was just listening back. I was about 10 seconds ahead. So, whoops, sorry. I didn't have my mixer thing, so. But either way, I mean, for Fitzy, it's not the day you wanted. You were the first car to have a really big incident. I mean, that was a very hefty, high-speed incident going between 10 and 11. And, well, we've gone past Reverend. We're going to be going past German Disaster, so that's 2 positions. But he's still 6 laps down, which is going to be big because as the race progresses, if somebody retires, they might not actually have enough time to get that position back.
Well, don't forget, Fitzy were 6 laps down when they came out of pit road. That equates to about 10 minutes on track, really, Cam, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say it's about, 130 plus 18, so it's about, 148, I think, could be expected. So, you can do the math yourself, I guess. I'm not a good mathematical person.
I don't do math.
Yeah, but, I mean, if we were to try, it would be something along the lines of, 130 for 6 times, so 6 times 130. I don't even know. Yeah, it's 9 plus your 18, so it's 18 times 6, which is going to be 90 something.
We're getting close.
So you take that number, and then add it with that number, and then voila, there you go.
We get a number.
We get a number, which is the answer, and that's why we are here in this booth, and you are there in that commentary side, or that section there on the side of the chat.
It's about 10 minutes something there. As we're just having a look.
Actually, I just realized something.
What?
My JRT literally gives me the gap. I could have just looked at that. Let me see. We're talking about the machine of Fitzy Motorsport. They are 12 minutes and 13 seconds behind your leader.
After all that.
It's great they
After
got
all
technology.
that. We have the technology. Fusion Red back on board of them. They are 3/4 of a second behind SimSport News race team right now. Battle for your race lead in terms of your sport division. And, well, there's only 4 cars on track in terms of this, and one of them is 2 laps down to everyone else. So if you're on the lead lap in class, you get a podium here today now, Cam.
Hey, boo! As there goes the huge ass machine around Gianni Quintilier. And Jonathan Dance has been kind of hovering right behind and ahead, and he's been all around as Jens Lehmann is coming out into pit lane. I'm not sure which machine that is. Oh, that is the German Disaster Racing machine, excuse me. I thought that was somebody coming into pit. You know, I will say, in our defense, we weren't that far off.
True.
As far as the time goes, we weren't that far off. But no, MX5, I mean, I am a bit sad that it is a lower number. I think this would be very fun if we had, 15 MX5s here. But you know what? For what we've had as a massive curb bite from Jonathan Dance, we'll slow him up a bit, they are even putting on a good show.
They are indeed. We're going to have a look then at some of the potentially developing battles happening on track. And we still need to keep an eye out on what is going to be happening in a couple of places. Team Vikings, they're going to be an interesting one. In terms of their pit stop, where they're going to end up overall. They've lost a 10 seconds to Loïc Bird in SimSport in this stink cam. It's going to be a case of, I think, Vikings are really going to have a good push in this last hour to get back into what could potentially be a net top 5.
Yeah, and everything's a little weird right now simply because of the pit stops. But, it has certainly been it's been sort of interesting to see how people are dealing with their strategies. And of course, the Loïc Berlin SimSport, they've been out for 20 laps. This is their 21st lap, so they're probably going to want to be coming in at some point. You've basically, they're going to have to come into pit soon. I think Sven Dummel in that huge ass machine was one of the first guys to come in for pits. That was kind of your front leading group. Mm-hmm. Now we just need to see when everyone else is going to come in. I mean, the Ferreira machine, your race leader right now, the F4H Motorsport Redgate machine, he's on 20 laps.
Wait a minute, I'm going to interrupt you. Team Huge Ass can't make it to the end of this race. They're going to have to do a third pit stop.
That might have been so they knew how long their pit stop was going to be to change out Sven.
They're going to have another pit stop over everyone else, yeah. Well,
I mean, maybe they wanted to get Sven in the car, or maybe something happened to where the driver, Jeff Tyler...
They only had a 15-second pit stop that first time around. That's one thing I couldn't understand at all. They just didn't put enough fuel into that car, that first pit stop.
I mean, it might have been sudden. Jeff Tyler might have got on comms to say, hey, guys, I've got something going on right now. I got to go. I'm bringing it into pit lane. And, or something like that. Or alternatively, they just miscalculated something on the fuel numbers as far as the engineer checking the box itself. Who knows?
Well, for Zen Demo, then, it's going to be a tough ride. And that will actually help Fitzy out, I think, in terms of championship, because if Huge Ass finish 5th, there's no way they can take the championship this year. I think that Huge Ass might have just gifted, in this race, the championship back to Fitzy just because of the fact they made such a stupid error. German Sim Racing are on pit road. They're going to have to do a splash as well. So, just keeping an eye out here, because this could be very, very interesting, because most teams are getting to the end of a fuel run here, Cam. It's going to be a case of, I think, 1 or 2 teams might just be able to make it in terms of the fuel. Others are going to have to do a splash, like German Sim Racing. They won't be able to make it to the end.
When do the points start? The top 10? Is that when the points start? Is 10 and then there's a cutoff?
I'm nodding my head for the moment. I'm looking at German Sim Racing.
Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, the German Sim Racing machine, the very beautiful one in pit lane with Nicholas Galil. Gali, excuse me. But I will say, just kind of looking at the championship standings, I've been trying to do this math myself. Huge Ass has won 2 races, but they got a donut for Zolder, which means I think obviously at some point the points end. And I'm wondering if it's the top 10 that kind of ends out with points. Huge Ass isn't going to be giving a position to Fitzy, but what it is going to do is give a position to Loïc, I think, as here comes Nicholas
you're not
Galli.
getting my point then. The fact that they were leading this race, they were going to win this race, It's the amount of points they're losing by making a stupid mistake in terms of fuel.
I wouldn't. Yeah, well, Huge Ass has put themselves up, but I kind of, with having a donut for that race in Zolder, I don't think they were in the contention anyways to win or compete for the championship, maybe for second position. But for me, I'm looking at the low E racing machine, because those are the ones to me that they're only 38 points behind, and really it is kind of a situation where I would suggest that we still have this championship battle right now between low E Berlin Sim Sport with Tobias Soltau and the Fitzy Motorsport Fighting CRC.
Well, we are actually having a look at the low E Berlin Sim Sport team right now. They are in fourth, 22 laps into a stint as we go right now with Tobias Soltau behind the wheel of that Berlin Sim Sport car, heading through the carousel once again. So, pit stop time is happening, and just, of course, we've got to keep an eye out on what's going to go on in terms of your Fusion Red team versus SimSport News Racing as well. I think this one will come down to whoever's the best on and off the pit road here, Cam.
Yeah, and actually Watkins Glen is fairly tricky, especially on the entry, because you are taking the racing line, and then you have to slow down, then you have to get into pit lane. And then obviously pit exit, you can certainly go way too fast, as we got a battle right now. Well, it's not a battle per se, but it's Lars Moldenhauer and Kim Koch, as they are going now through corners 10 into corners 11. They got a nice little 3-car Porsche train, and it's difficult. And also another thing you got to think about, Watkins Glen, how much a percentage of this racetrack are you on the throttle too? So it's certainly interesting to see how these guys go. As here comes on the grass on the outside is Nicholas Gali. He's not going to be able to get a good exit. He has to go way on the other side of the curb. They're going to go side by side. Up the S's they go. This is now a battle for position. It's Berlin Sim Sport versus German Sim Racing Blue. The track tightens up. BSS yields the position.
Yep, so let's get ourselves another look at that, because that one was intense in towards turn 1. Here's a replay. It was just a late break then. Almost, it was an avoiding action more than an overtake to start with there, Cam. He just got a better run on the exit of the corner.
I mean, props to Nicholas for seeing that, because he wasn't even I don't even think he was trying to go for the pass. He was just trying to put pressure on it and said, hey, you're going to stop there. I guess I'll just go around you, just pick it up and run with it. And he did just that. That's +1 position for Nicholas Gali, the driver from the Diatch Club. So, and here comes on the inside into the toe. They touch just a pair. Everything's fine. Everything works out. So no problems there. But I have to say, good racing here between these two machines.
Yeah, indeed so. Sorry for keeping it on the replay for a little bit longer than we would have hoped. The camera stopped working. But here we are then. We've got teams on pit road. Team Vikings are on pit road as we speak. We've had the VAPEX Racing Group GT Red team make a pit stop earlier on. German Sim Racing have made a pit stop. Chalk Creek Racing Avon Rise have just come out. They did a pit stop then of 55 seconds. Team Vikings out and away in 30.4 second pit stop for them.
Hold up here. Well,
what?
Apparently the huge ass team is actually at Watkins Glen Racing right now, in real life, and they're streaming it live. That's actually really funny.
I should be so excited about this.
I am. Oh, come on. That's fun. That's good because it's showing how teams are producing not only good teams here in sim racing, but then they want to translate that into real life. I'm just saying that's a big thing.
Yep. Team Vikings, so to get back on track with that one, 50.4 second even was their pit stop. And Berlin Sim Sport, this one is important for them. Big pit stop for Tobias Soltau right now. He is on pit road, 23 seconds out and away.
Double stint then for Tobias Soltau after Tony Loesch only ran that one stint there, and then it went to Tobias Soltau. I was almost wondering. So obviously Tobias is doing the middle of the race, and then I guess the next pit stop, my presumption would be Tony is either going again or another driver, but it is just those two listed. So there you go. So Tobias is the one doing the middle of the racing right now, and both of them are doing extraordinarily well right now, though Tony does have the fastest lap of the race. So let's see what this Berlin Sim Sport Low E machine is going to be able to do here after starting starting in 22nd position.
Yeah, and also, let's not forget here, Cam, that they are right on the bubble of whether or not they even need to make another pit stop. Of course, you've always got to remember there's that additional lap, so they should have to come and make another stop. One team who I think are going to be good are Torque Freak Racing Blanchimont. They've done 22 laps on this stint, and I think they're on to lap number 23 on their stint now. I think they won't have to pit after this one they're doing now. They've got one more pit stop to the end. I think Torque Freak Racing Blanchimont actually have got a bit of an advantage here. They will easily, I think, be able to get themselves in the top 5, but potentially a podium they can sneak out here.
I mean, the podium would be huge. I'm looking at it as it's Stefan Schlacher right now. He's taking over for Ferreira, as Ferreira has obviously well-deserved break right now after running a very good double stint to start off this finale here at Watkins Glen for the Clubman Series, the Club Sport Series, excuse me. But I think for me, we'll see how this F4H machine goes. Looking at my track map, the leader right now is going to, of course, be that Torque Freak Racing Blanchimont. They are just heading into the toe right now, right as F4H is heading into the carousel. So I almost wonder, and did they take tires that last time, I wonder? I'll have a check and figure that out. Nope, no tires. So they kept with the tires too.
Having a look on board then with the Torque Freak Racing thing, if they come on towards pit road at the end of this lap, they might still have to do a splash. If it's next lap they can go on to, then I think they will, because they do stay out. So yeah, Torque Freak Racing, I think now they're going to be easily good to go to the end of this race, Cam.
I mean, 24, it'll be 25 laps. If they make it around without so much as a bobble on the fuel, I mean, that's going to be pretty huge. When did they last come into pit? So what, that was lap 27. So, I mean, they should, in theory, after an hour and 47 minutes, be able to make it to the end. That would be huge. I think everyone else is planning on coming in for a splash, as we also have a battle for 10th position as well. So, big moves right here. I almost wonder if the Torque Freak Racing boys didn't work together to lighten up on fuel.
Berlin Sim Sport versus German Sim Racing. That one continues. We said it might well have been decided through pit stops, Cam. It didn't. Berlin Sim Sport are still behind German Sim Racing. That's battle for P number 9 as it stands on track. Worth noting as well, Berlin Sim Sport are 5 laps longer into a stint than German Sim Racing. So this is going to hurt them at the end in this battle in terms of fuel as well.
Yeah, and these guys are really pressuring each other too. You know, I think there's kind of two pertinent strategies. It's either go as hard as you can and then just go for the splash and call it a day, or try to sip and see if you can get the 2. I think everybody is now basically race as hard as you can, because obviously when you're racing in Porsches, these cup cars, you want to race as hard as you can. People want to race. You're racing for position, all that stuff like that. It takes a very dedicated system to make sure that you're being careful enough on the throttle and the fuel and the braking and the drafting to actually make it work. So for me, easy strategy. This is totally what I would do. Run for your 3 pit stops, get in there, run as hard as you can as the German sim racing car goes around an MX-5 and doesn't even actually yield anything to Kim Koch. And here comes Lars Moldenhauer down pit lane.
Yeah, and on the other side of pit road, SROC Racing Blue coming out after a 50.9 second pit stop. So Moldenhauer should be getting out of this car. Sasha Lamp is getting in behind the wheel of it. Tyres as well, I think I just saw for that number 61 car. Nope, no tyres just yet.
Nope, not yet, though there is an investigation going on for an incident, or there was an investigation for an incident between the 123 MX-5 and the number 17 F4H Redgate machine that is being considered a racing incident.
Good. Out and away, 30.8 seconds for Sasha Lamp. He comes out in 3rd. We talk about being a podium, being nice there, Cam. He's in 3rd place right now.
Yeah, and should be comfortable right now, I think. As here comes Tobias Soltau, as he wants to see what he can get. He's going to come out right behind Sasha Lamp, but he's going to obviously, I think, have to come in once again. He's running right now on lap with the stint length here. I just closed that window. Thank you. Thanks, Windows. Very appreciative. But so he's running to his stint length. I would imagine that Tobias is planning on coming in once again at some point. So, yeah, most certainly, I think, unless something dramatic happens, these are your top 3 runners.
SimSport News Race Team, they have done a pit stop. They are out and away, still with the race lead right now. WR Racing B, I'm trying to work where they are right now. They have done a pit stop as well. And then the back end of the racetrack, worldracing.info are 3rd place in class. Fusion Red, by the way, we didn't see this one. They're out of the event, Cam.
Ah, when did this happen? That's a 122 machine.
9 minutes ago.
Huh, well, let's. I'll take a look at that. It was with the driver of Tobias Soltau. They were fighting right alongside on lap number 9. Oh, you know what? This is. Oh no, that's Fusion Racing that I'm looking at. I'm meant to go look at Fusion Red. Whoops, doodle. But yeah, for Jonathan Dance, very unfortunate for these guys. They've been basically running for the battle all race long, really.
Yeah. What that does mean is now a huge disparity in time.
Oh. This might be coming. This might be coming back. This might be a big decision. This was Ferreira in the number 17 machine. That might have been the determination of the racing incident. They might have put the wrong number in instead of the 122. They did the 123. No, that is the 123. But yeah, that was the incident. They came out of the carousel. Picture the Porsche, the FRH Porsche with a white and red stripe coming off the exit. They both run over the rumble strips just a little bit. The FRH machine tries to crisscross from the driver's right to driver's left, nips the rear end of the 123 and pushes him hard into the Armco barrier, pushing Jonathan Dance out of the race, and that was determined to be a racing incident.
Yeah, we're going to try and see whether we can get a look at this one with Fusion Red. This is one that was still...
It's his lap 40 going into the carousel.
That bit sorted out, so just having a look then. This is Jonathan Dance. This is him, say, coming up the hill on lap number 40. So let's go on board then with the 123 machine and experience what happened. Thought it was going to be here. Anyway, yep. Well, this is the number 123 car. Exit of the carousel. And there we are. Oh, big hit then. Straight into the Armco barrier for that number 123 car.
Yeah, and I will say, listening to it, just the racing noise, just the tires squealing, which I love how they've worked that sound. It makes it even more of a haunting incident, just because you did not expect it at all.
Yeah. There we are, Jonathan Dance then out of the race in that Fusion Red team as a consequence. Tugvik Racing Avon Rise right now, currently running 5th place in class. Although, it's very interesting that these two Tugvik Racing teams, 2 different strategies then between them. One doing the aggressive, one of them taking, well, I might need to do the splash and dash.
Yeah, well, I mean, they might have just done it to where, hey, let's see if this works out for me, let's see if this works out for you. We talk so much about how these different drivers do in these Porsches. They drive them so differently, even though it's a very similar car. Well, maybe one of those drivers on the Torque Freaks said, you know what, I want to try to save as much fuel as I can. I want to see what we can do, and that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, indeed. So 45 minutes then remaining in this event. Oh, rip little Mazda from the huge ass team, I know. As Berlin Sim Sport, German Sim Racing, that one's still going on. Here's one that will be interesting to keep an eye out on, though. Tugvik Racing Blanchimont, last time by 129.764. They are fuel saving by the looks of it. Lowly Berlin Sim Sport, they are only 2.8 back right now, Cam.
Yeah, and it's sort of one of those situations where you just want to see, you got to wonder perhaps double stinting the tires, perhaps if they're on new tires, how you want to push this, because, it might be one thing having a full fuel tank with 4 new tires, but I can't imagine a full fuel tank with 4 used tires. So it's going to all be how you can push and how you don't want to push. You got that 3 seconds between these 2 drivers. I would obviously suggest for low E to just push, but at the same time, last thing you want to do is have an incident and throw it all away. Yeah,
indeed. So don't forget, tomorrow night it's the final round of this season's 2K World Cup, presented by DES Simulations. Join us from Snetterton as we've got 2 drivers battling out for the championship. That will be 8 p.m. GMT. Round out your weekend on RacespotTV. It's actually camped in that very nice little gap between the end of the Indy 500 and the start of the Coca-Cola 600.
Very, very nice. And yes, tomorrow it's the weekend of weekends, they call it. I don't know if they make it a big event for you guys over in the UK, but this is the only time of the year that people are going to watch. Really, you're going to watch Monaco and F1 and IndyCar here in the States. Nobody really tends to watch it, though it has been fantastic this season, I will say, for F1. I gotta hand it to ESPN, as much as I don't want to, but it is just the promotional material for the big 3 races of this crown jewel of weekend of motorsport. It is a very big push, at least here in the States. Don't know how it is internationally.
The greatest day in motorsport, we like to call it.
Yeah.
Around the world, of course, you've got Monaco Grand Prix, then you've got yourself the 102nd running of the Indianapolis 500, and then the Coca-Cola 600 as your nightcap. But there's also other events going on around the world as well. So the greatest day in motorsports is on tomorrow. And yes, I do call it Monaco. Get it right.
I mean, it's Monaco. I don't know. It's Monaco. I've never, your aluminiums and your Nickies. I will say, I'm looking right now at Fitzy Motorsport trying to get around the Team Vikings Berserkers car. They backed off, and then Nicholas Galli has passed the Fitzy Motorsport machine. So we also kind of got to keep an eye on this Fitzy car. They're not in a contention to get laps back. They're 6 laps down still? They're not going to get anything back. There's no cautions or anything like that, but it's still important track positionally how they're going to go, because here comes Sven Demmel. The Porsches all seem to be really grouped up together again.
Yeah, just having a look, by the way. Last 3 laps, Sasha Lamp, 149.7, 149.4, 149.1. Tobias Soltau in the Lowy Berlin Simsport car is second faster, half second faster, 7/10 of a second faster. Gap down to 1.4 seconds.
Either fuel saving of the driver is the battle between for position number 8, the Team Vikings Berserkers, and that German sim racing Blue Machine. The Blue Machine washed out heavily in corner number 8, lost the front traction, had to save it and get back onto the racing surface. So there's a little bit of a gap there, but I will say Ols Marius Jensen is not as fast as Nicholas Galli. So that's it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But at the same time, perhaps that Berserkers machine is just saving the car, because we almost saw Nicholas Galil go off track.
Yeah, 2.8 seconds was faster as that German sim racing team that last time by over Team Vikings. Vikings, I just think their tyres are just too old. They're already 18 laps into the stint. Let's forget that one.
Well, they're taking care of the car after an 18-lap stint, I think, rather than trying to push it. And that's obviously very healthy. You don't want anything to happen. And actually, Nicholas Galli he backed off before they even hit the S's. Very strange. I almost wonder if maybe he had a slowdown or something like that. I don't imagine. If you take that inside just a little too hard, you can certainly get a penalty, which he did not. So not quite sure why he backed off so heavily there, but that's allowed Oles Marius Jensen to get some breathing room, as really you have basically got all of the big players in Porsche all locked up together here.
Yeah, you have. Fitzy again, they are currently P number 14, so they're only there to create issues, so to say, right now. VAPEX Racing Group GT Red in P number 7, they are close behind the Team Vikings number 2 car, the Ragnarok machine, with Tom Anders Brevin behind the wheel of that one. Gap is 8/10 of a second, but Shane Norton, the VAPEX Racing Group GT Red car, has been losing time in the last 3 laps or so now.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's
he
sort
spins.
of. Oh yes, going into pit lane. I think at least maybe that was intentional. No,
Well,
it
he's on
wasn't
pit
even
road
intentional.
now.
Well, you have to now, but yeah, not intentional. Oh, you know what? If he just straightened that wheel and kept going backwards, that could have been the coolest pit lane entry in the history of iRacing.
Yeah, let's have a look at a replay then. Just lose it on corner exit.
Yeah.
Well, it was nicely into pit road. If you just hit
Well,
reverse, it would have been fine. Gone down back road backwards with 5 miles
Exactly.
an hour to the limit to go on.
I mean, for me, you know, this is why we need 5-speed manual transmissions. He could have just hit the clutch, put it in reverse, and just drove backwards. It could have done a whole Days of Thunder thing.
One more look. Yeah, he just lost it. I'm confused
Yeah.
as to how he lost it in the first place.
That's a normal thing. You got the weight of that Porsche motor in the back. You've got some used tires on it, and then you throw it in there. It already had a bit of a damaged wing. He entered the corner doing 120 mile an hour. Kind of dove to the inside. You know what? I think he just nipped that inside the curb. Then he rode up onto the concrete and he just spun out.
Yeah. On board now with the Low E Burlington Sport car. Battle for third place on track right now, as half a second is the gap between themselves and Talk Creek Racing and Sasha Lamb. Unlikely going to happen into the carousel. Although Solto's like, well, I might as well die down the inside anyway. But, well, I've got a feeling start from this line here, Cam.
Yeah, and I'm watching the battle between Soltau and Lamp, and I almost wonder how much. I mean, Lamp doesn't have to conserve at all, right? Like, he can just push as much as he wants. And Soltau, I think, still is going to have to come in for a splash, right? That's what we've said. So, I mean, it's difficult how aggressive you want to be if you're Sasha Lamp. You know he's going to have to come into pit lane anyways. You know, obviously, if he's faster than you, let him go, and we haven't seen that from Soltau, but I just wouldn't risk getting in a collision.
Well, having a look then with Soltau. And again, for Soltau, he does need to make a splash, but it'll be a very short splash. Not on the likes of Hugh Jas, for example. He's on the same lap in terms of his strategy as F4H Motorsports. And he's 1 to the good compared to Team Vikings, Talk Creek Racing, Avon Rise. 3 better than German Sim Racing.
Now, the lane is still pretty hefty. As far as the distance you have to travel, and for me, if they're going to really give you wheel, I would just get out of the way and honestly save fuel sitting behind them anyways, just to see what you could do. Have them pull you around.
The good news is it's a 55 mile an hour pit road. It's not
35 or
Spa,
something.
for example, which is so slow.
Yeah, 37, I think it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it is a normal, what we would consider normal. I mean, to be fair, it's highway speed, so, I mean, that's still, you know, fairly sketchy. But I would just, you know, if he's going to give him wheel, because here comes Soltau again. He's trying to go to the inside, super late on the brakes. And Central Lamp, I don't even know if they just looked in the mirror. They just went, well, you're already on the brakes, so I'm going to go. So I don't know if I'd take the risk.
I wouldn't yet. A move like that could put both of them out of this event as well, especially down at the carousel. Because, yeah, they have paved over a Cam, but you still hit. I mean, the purpose of a gravel trap is to slow the car down. You have pavement and you hit, you're going straight into the tyre barrier. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, once your traction is broken and you're sliding anyways, yeah, that's what's going to happen. As here comes Soltau, and I almost wonder, has anyone told Lamp that they're not really racing for position? As here comes Soltau, great move on the outside. There's the door bang. That's exactly what you didn't want to see. There goes Tobias Soltau into the dirt.
And this is, of course, a battle in the championship as well. He needs to make sure that that car is still drivable. It looks okay, but replay coming up for you. That's not what you want to have happen.
No, 2 perfectly healthy cars going into that corner and 2 damaged cars come out. That's not what you want to see.
Here we are then, down into the hill. Tries the outside line. And there's the door bang. Simple as that. 1, 2, bump. That might be investigated as well.
Most certainly could be, but I would look at that almost as a racing incident. You would expect the Torque Freak car to come up because he obviously has a shorter turn radius. because of the apex, and of course the Berlin Sim Sport was what you would consider the quote aggressor out of that one, because they were the ones looking to make the pass on the outside, which is a difficult maneuver. But you never know. It's a live marshalling booth. You don't know what could happen. There was completely legal going in side by side, but just door-to-door contact and threw it out in the dirt. I just can't see why it was worth it for Torque Freak to do that.
I know. German Sim Racing are up into P number 8. They're hunting down the berserkers of Team Vikings right now. Ole Marius Jensen behind the wheel of the number 1 machine. Number 99 machine is about 4 seconds back as they come past the start finish line. This is a nice little three-way battle going on right now.
Yeah, most certainly. And, you know, it's kind of few and far between to find good little battles here, as these cars are going by right here, 13, 14. And, well, there's the number 9 car. But, yeah, for Kevin Enderman with that S-Rock car, and for Sim Fitzpatrick for the Fitzy car, these guys are completely separated by laps, excuse me. So I'm obviously in a completely different section of this racetrack, Will, but these guys completely being separated. But what can you do?
Yeah, German Sim Racing in the tow over Team Vikings Berserkers.
There we go.
Looking down to the inside. A bit weak on the brakes actually for German Sim Racing. They've had that issue all day long, but better in the second phase of the carousel. Pulls themselves alongside as they come in towards turn 6, but not going to get able to get the pass.
No, you don't want to try the outside of this corner. It's too steep. There's no traction out there. You hit the grass, your day is done. Actually, speaking of hitting the grass, the Team Vikings does. I have found the cars on the racetrack, Will, so I can actually, you know, commentate on them, which is great. But actually, here comes Kim Coach onto the inside, trying to take up in a mistake from Nicholas Gali, but Gali has actually recovered fairly well, leaning the car away on the outside as they're going to go into the heel. Can we repeat what we just saw a lap before? Here we go. They will decide to keep it nice and easy and keep our blood pressures down in the booth. Actually, okay, I thought he was going to try for a lunge up here in corner number 9, which you do not want to do, and they've straightened themselves out.
Yeah, you talk about not wanting to overtake in 6, though. That's exactly what you just did when you are on your extended bathroom break.
Ah, yes. The extended pit stop where we had work being done, and actually, I almost saw the Fitzy car completely demolish an MX-5. I almost say we might want to take a replay of that one. Might not have been a consequence of position or anything like that, but just Sam Fitzpatrick of the Fitzy Motorsport was getting pursued by the S-Rock Racing Blue, and almost 8. I mean, quite literally 8. He almost put the MX-5 in the front trunk of that Porsche.
Well, here's a replay then. What corner? Second to last corner?
This is through 10. Yeah, this is through 10.
Yeah. So here we are then on board with Sam Fitzpatrick. And you see that car, that MX-5 was all the way on the outside line, allowing all these 3 cars to go past. Oh, Fitzpatrick having to get off the gas very last minute there.
Yeah, and he slammed on the brakes and locked them up too, and that allowed the S-Rock car to get by to no consequence, obviously. But yeah, for the WR Racing B, the Stene Rene Christensen, he let the Porsches go through on the inside. Obviously he was going slower. But yeah, that almost got devoured, I think, by one of those Porsches. That would have been horrible for Fitzy. Let's be real here.
Yeah, Berlin Sim Sport, by the way, have made a service. 37 overall, 13.9 in terms of their stop. That's something that's going to be worth keeping an eye out for the Lowy Berlin Sim Sport team later on. German Sim Racing, however, versus Team Vikings, they are back down into the heel corner. Bit more of a gap, though, this time between the two of them as they enter turn number 9.
Yeah, and you kind of want to keep yourself nice and easy here through these corners. We were talking about earlier, you know, people think it's pretty scary going through some of these corners, but ultimately, as you can see now, Sasha Lamp has really pulled out a massive gap almost between 8 and 9. Or 9 and 10, excuse me. You can't even see the cars together. There's a couple of cars pulled on pit lane. S-Rock Racing Blue is pulled on pit lane.
Oh, look at that dummy! German Sim Racing, a dummy of dummies on towards pit road.
I'll have to take a look at this one here, but yeah, as you're looking at the replay, or no, I was looking at the replay. I see what you do now. Okay, yeah, most certainly.
I just want to listen in for a second, Cam. Well, they do get to pit road speed. Yeah. I think the issue is they were so early getting onto pit road speed, they thought, wait, we'll have bought it.
Yeah, I mean, they had another 4 or 5 seconds they were going to have to do at 55 mile an hour, 44 mile an hour, excuse me, not 55. Yeah, and so he had to pull out. So here is Ols Marius Jensen. We'll see if that Sim Racing Blue machine, the German Sim Racing Blue machine, will come in this next time by. I imagine they will, because they are on lap number 16. No, they should have plenty of fuel.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't get that one. That might have been maybe a miscommunication or something.
Or just a dummy. The dummy works. I mean, sometimes give a second, gain more later on down the line. In German Sim Racing, they seem to have a very good car, but not very good at overtaking today.
No, and you know, some people are just good at the aggression that you need. The positional aggression, I think, would be the term for trying to get around here at Watkins Glen. Sometimes it's just straight up aggression. But what you want to do is you have to force yourself through in as polite a way as possible, if that makes sense, obviously. You know, you get to European tracks or maybe Japanese tracks, you can really just, as long as you've pulled alongside and you're going to a braking zone, your corner is as Huge Ass is now onto pit lane. This is their last pit stop, so this is going to be huge here as the Dickens Cider machine pulls into their box. There's the number 33 team going to work on that Porsche. As it's one of those situations where this type of racing, this type of passing that you need to do, some people are good at it. Some people, they're just not as comfortable.
Sorry, someone's some Dickens cider there.
Wow. Dickens Cider.
Yeah.
There you go. As Sven Double pulls away, he's got his fuel. It was 18 seconds in the stop, 38 seconds on the group, and the track map is going to be P number 1 is entering the carousel, and they are just hitting the S's. So I think that right there, not that bad. F4H is heading right into the chute right now, as it's called, corner number 6. And so, well, we got to see what these guys are going to do here.
Let's go on board then with Huge Ass. Give you a little bit of RacespotTV fan immersion. Well, there's then demo. Of course, we won't get a comparable lap time until the end of this lap, but looks as though the third sector of that last lap were pretty strong there, Cam. Of course, he's 20 seconds behind F4H Motorsport. We think that Redgate might be able to make it. If they do have to make a splash and dash, it'll be a very short splash and dash. And that actually will give them the advantage, I think. It'll be close between them. I'd say about 4 seconds right now.
Yeah, and for me, it's pretty straightforward. You've got Fitzy Motorsport. I almost wonder if they're trying to hustle Stefan Schlacker and the F4H Motorsport machine. Which, if I was if he gave Schlacker wheel, I would just say, well, you can't let him by, because then what if he slows you down? So it's one of those odd situations. I will say pitting late is obviously the best. I think Huge Ass had to pit that time by. They might not have had the fuel to make it around one more time. And so for me, it's we'll see. How many laps does this time by? That will be 16 laps. So technically, they should be able to break it out past the 20. So it should be a very, very quick stop. And it means that is going to get very interesting. A 1:47.946 for Stefan Schlocker.
Yeah, indeed. So Fitzy Motorsport, Sam Fitzpatrick then. We've been keeping an eye out on him because, of course, he's in P number 14. But there's a lot of action to go on here. And, of course, Fitzy came into this one as your championship leader. Whether or not they lead with the championship is another question. Let's go and have a quick look, by the way, at the SimSport News race team. They have got, I get this, 2-minute advantage now over WR Racing B.
Is that all? Yeah, that's, it's just either between the traffic or the pit stop or what, I don't know. But yeah, massive. I almost wonder if perhaps everyone might have taken tires. No, Jacob Toff's both with a 35 and then a 38, and everyone else is basically out of the race. So really, it's kind of just a 2-car run right here, and that is a little bit sad, but B, in a way, I mean, what else can you do? I mean, a 2-minute gap. I mean, hey, not a bad day.
Yeah, indeed. So having a look then, as it stands, and well, SimSport News race team Jacob Toff's behind the wheel of that one. Of course, live timing and Sky in the last 20 minutes of this event. Go to RacespotTV/live. Let's go back to Berlin SimSport for the moment then. They are currently 1.2 behind Torque Freak Racing Blanchimont. Now, this will be important, actually, because we think that Berlin SimSport are on the bubble of when they can make it, Cam. Torque Freak Racing Blanchimont, we know, can make it to the end. So this could actually be for overall end position.
Yeah, and that's going to be very important, obviously, with how the championship points. We've got to remember this is the final round. They've been racing since January, once a month since January. This kind of beginning tier into what would be considered what would be the hierarchy name that you would give this? The Neo Circle, as it were? Well, because for me, it almost takes away from DGFX at that point. You know, that the big leagues, I would have to say, of iRacing, endurance racing. This is kind of that first leg, that first ladder. And, you know, I'm surprised. Hopefully, as these go on, I think this is the inaugural season. Hopefully, as we get more seasons, we'll get more people interested in MX-5s and whatnot. And, you know, of course, my stupid suggestions, I'd love to see a quick little, like, hour-long race before the Neo races with these teams. But, you know, hey, that's just me. You know, I think it's interesting. It's growing, and I think no matter what, if you win that championship, you'll forever be known as a championship winner in a Neo-sanctioned series.
Yep. Although we have to talk about Neo, of course, and Neil Heckins basically looking after it by himself now. Yeah, I know. I've been to his house, you know, twice.
Is it nice?
It is.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Don't come to my house, it's not.
Low Berlin SimSport down to the inside position is complete.
Oof, well, there you go. Nice and easy. Make it easy and just keep yourself on moving. You know, he gets by Sancho Lap finally. He caught up, got the pass done. He did actually make up quite a pretty big berth, which I almost wonder. That means that Lamp was saving up some fuel or something, and that was obviously they had that incident earlier and got through clean this time by. I think Lamp decided, you know what, it's not worth having the risk for an incident.
Yeah, and I'm just actually having a look between Lowy Berlin SimSport and F4H Motorsports right now. I think that in terms of strategy, it will still, Lowy will still be in the third place, even if F4H do have to make a splash, because of the fact that you're only going to really have to take about 10 seconds worth of fuel, and the gap is currently 48 seconds. Lowy would need to gain about 10-15 seconds in the last 21 minutes. That's going to be a very tall order.
It is, and speaking of tall orders, the leader of the race right now has been trying to get by the V-Apex Racing GT Blue. He finally has gotten by in the chute, corner number 6. He was held up, I wouldn't say held up, but he wasn't able to go as fast as he would have liked to have gone, just being stuck behind Richard Yeager. No fault of Yeager's, he was doing completely no problem, but what that means is that Sven Endemel is going to be getting that much closer as well. So we've got battles kind of brewing up all over this racetrack, despite the fact that it's not a very busy racetrack.
Yeah, just having to having a look at the replay of that one, actually. Stefan Schlacker, you see, finally gets a good run, dove down the inside of turn number 6. You kind of have to when you know that you still got to finish off the battle. That's pretty much it in terms of battles right now. We haven't actually got many big ones on track cam.
No, we don't, and that's okay. We've still got another, 20 minutes, 22 minutes of racing to go.
Yep.
These guys just want to settle themselves out. We got a 19-second gap between the F4H and Huge Ass that last time by. Let's see, they go past the start-finish line. Did that V Apex machine cost them a little bit? Well, let's see, as here comes the Huge Ass machine. Of course, Mr. Jass, the mysterious sponsor of these blue and yellow machines, as he comes on by mysterious benefactor, excuse me, that was the word I was looking for. Almost 0.7 of 1 second in that one lap, and that's going to turn into who knows how much when it comes time for F4H to come in for that splash and dash.
Unless, well, I think the F4H, unless they really are trying to save fuel here, but you get to a point with the number of laps remaining, it will be still close. Here's a look at the most recent lap times, and they have gained 1.3 in the last 3 laps there, Cam.
Well, there you go. But I think for me, as it's just looking at it according to my JRT, because it knows how to do math, thankfully.
Yes.
It is predicting, and it is honestly really, really accurate. I was always thinking that it was not accurate. 11 laps. After this lap, it'll be 11 laps to go, according to my computer thingy. So 11 laps, and F4H is on lap 20. They're obviously going to not be able to stay out. Now, for me, the biggest worries, if I was the track person for F4H Motorsport, I would just be constantly running through the checklist of trying to come down pit lane, because the last thing you want to do is them putting tires on that machine.
Yeah, and Stefan Schlacker will have to do a pit stop. There's no way he can do 30 laps on a tank here. Well, 30 laps ever. It's about 24, I think, is the highest we've seen today.
25, I think, was that last run from Torque Freak. That kind of sealed the deal for them only needing to come in twice. But that was it, and that was intentional fuel saving and drafting, we must remember.
Yes, indeed. So we're going to take a quick 2-minute break here on RacespotTV. We'll be back for the final 15 after this. Don't forget, tomorrow it is the finale of this season's 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. It'll be here on RacespotTV streaming live on iRacing Live from Snetterton. 300, myself and Jake Sperry will be with you for that one. Been having a look then at Stefan Schlacker. He will be on pit road in the next 4 laps. We arguably think, Cam, it might be as early as next time around.
It certainly could be, depending on how aggressive they've been, because we don't know how these lap times all came in as far as who was in the draft and whatnot, because you can make up a substantial amount of fuel in the draft and on and off the throttle. So we'll see here. I don't see them coming in this time by. I think that as they don't, I think it'll be maybe next lap, maybe the lap after that, because that'll be 24. That'll be comfortable as they are going right now. Following behind the Apex Racing Group GT Red of Shane Norton. So they're going to have a bit of trouble because they're going to have to back way off because that car is damaged, the Apex one. So going very slow up the S's compared to what you normally would, going along on the outside, and there you go. So F4H just losing a bit more time. That was a 147.7 last time, huge ass, a 147.3, so they got continuing to come down.
Yep, and we've got an answer. Thank you to Julian for that one. simrc.de.
Yes, thank you.
It's taken us long enough.
Jake Sperry needs to invent a Google for iRacing drivers.
Well, we are.
Just type in the... No, he needs to make it so I can just Google. I just put in the driver name, I hit enter, it tells me how to pronounce it, where they race.
Yeah, it's called Sim Racing Wiki. It's coming, it's in progress.
Oh, that's right. We are making that, aren't we?
Yeah, Marius Gollenbeck, and who's the other guy doing it? One of the Coanda drivers is involved in it, I believe.
Backham, I think, isn't it?
No. Borcher. Actually, no, it's Andre Borcher, I believe, doing it.
Yeah, Andre Borcher.
Yep. We don't know. We know nothing. I know nothing.
We
there we are. I know
show.
something. I know when teams and drivers will normally come on towards pit road. Except that's a different team. That's Team Vikings on pit road.
Okay. So what have we learned that we don't know?
We know something.
We know things like your name's Will and my name's Cam.
Yep, having a look then at Tom Anders Bevan on towards pit road for what will be a splash. Now, this will be interesting because we want to know what the time is. Over 10 seconds. 10.4. As we got Talk Freak Racing. It's Jorn Jens. Thank you, Jack. Yeah, I knew it was someone, all right? Talk Freak Racing Avon Rise on pit road. Right now doing their final service, and we are having a look then. James Owens on towards pit road to make his final stop of the event. So 10 seconds is what we're kind of looking for now. We've got that as a frame of reference. Owens for the Avon Rise team. Let's not forget, him and his teammate, Talk Freak Racing, were nose to tail at one point. Now Talk Freak Racing are about 45 a minute ahead of their Avon Rise teammates because of the fact they haven't had to make this final pit stop.
Yeah, most definitely, and it has just kind of been a wild thing, and because you don't know, was it the driver that made it, or was it the team decision, or what? As the Torque Freak Racing Avon Rise machine now has the GSR car on the outside, here it goes. It's an easy pass for the number 99 as he got slots in. James Owens, he actually catches up in the draft. That was brilliant. They almost make a bit of a touch, and there they go. They straighten out, and James Owens, in the 15 seconds he's been in the car, has already had a very, very dramatic day.
Yeah.
No, he had the first sin, excuse me.
Yeah, well, there we are. Nicholas Galley then, number 99 machine. Some fantastic racing with Talk Freak Racing and James Owens there. Well, we are still waiting for the F4H Motorsports car to come on towards pit road. Not this time.
Really? But the lap times have been getting horrible. They did a 148.6 that last time. Okay, back to a 147.5. The gap is now down to 15 seconds, and Sven Demmel can almost see the F4H machine. And obviously, as we know, once you see the car in front, you get the red mist. And or whatnot. It was a 147.1, so it's down to a 15 flat. Will, I think we've got a brilliant race building up with the last, we've got another 10 minutes to go.
Yep, don't forget, you can get social with us, like us, and subscribe on YouTube. Also, Facebook.com/RacespotTV on the Facebooks and at RacespotTV on the Twitter machine. VAPEX Racing GT Blue on pit road for their final time today. A longer stop. You wouldn't really want to get damage repaired this late on in the game. They're taking tires with 10 minutes of a race to go, Cam.
You know, we spent the money on these tires, and it's going to cost too much to ship them back to Germany, so we're going to use them.
You might as well. They're still going to have the stickers on them by the time that race finishes.
You know what? Well, you know, actually, there was a pretty significant race. They were still in a battle with both MOATF and SROC, so they will have lost themselves 2 positions on. Yeah, well, you know, if the box is checked and the people are, it doesn't matter how much arm waving you're doing. You know, they're going to put the tires on regardless. So
yeah, 37.5 second pit stop out and away. That was 17 seconds too long there. Give you an update what's happening in your sport division. It's a lap now, the gap between P number 1 and P number 2.
Here they come. Here comes Stefan Schlacker, almost hits the water barrels. He lost the rear end. He almost wrecked it there on lap 74, but Stefan Schlacker now for the final pit stop. There you go, Will. We were somewhat correct. 25 laps.
Yep, and here is Stefan Schlacker. This is him on towards pit road there in the replay. Slows it down. Hello, Bottles, my old friend. He comes out, though. He's fine. 6, 7. 7.4 out and away, but he has lost the race lead.
Yep.
Worth noting, by the way. Here's an interesting one. Talk Freak Racing did actually come in and do another pit stop.
Really?
As did Lowy Berlin Simsport. They've each done another pit stop. But we were, by the look of it, with the time remaining in the event, I don't think Talk Freak Racing had to. That's the issue.
I don't know how many laps they had ran. This is the Sancha lap. This is the Blanchimont car.
Wait a minute as well. Lowy Berlin Simsport, another team making a stupid mistake. They did a 30.9 second pit stop with Tony Lowich then. They took tires when they didn't need to.
Yeah, well, that was 4 laps ago, though. So, I mean, you had... well... Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell them. I mean, that's the thing. You got to plan these things out. Maybe the car was just... with the damage that he had on the rear, well, of course, he picked up the damage in an incident after that pit stop anyways. So, yeah, I mean, you know, it doesn't take much, you know. In these beginning series, you just start to learn how to set up the car. You get comfortable with the teammates, get comfortable with changing it out, and then you forget the fundamentals. And that's how to make that plan, that fundamental plan. You don't want to take tires in your last pit stop, and that's what I think most of these teams have ended up doing.
Yeah, and that's the very crazy livery then. The Lowy Berlin Simsports car literally sliced together as Tony Lurch then works himself up the S's once again. 7 minutes to go. Here's a look at your standings. First of all, in your clutch, you know, we've gone backwards this time. And there's your 7 drivers in your sport division. Simsport Race Team, they are 1 lap ahead now of WR Racing, Fusion Red in 3rd, World Racing.info in 4th, Disabled Motorsport in 5th, Fusion Racing 6th, Clubsport admins, they don't exist. They're just there on a piece of paper to confuse me. And then what?
Papers are very confusing, Will.
They are. So then we've got ourselves the club division. And Huge Ass are leading by 10.1 seconds over F4H Motorsports Redgate. TFR Blanchimont in 3rd. Lowy's Berlin Simsport in 4th. Team Vikings in 5th. German Sim Racing, Talk Peak Racing, Avon Rise, and Berlin Simsport. They are your top 8 right now. Huge Ass leading the way. We did think they might have almost thrown their race away at one point. But the important thing is they are still going to now. With them, if they do win this race, we'll find out in 5 minutes and 50-odd seconds' time, they do win the championship because of how poor Fitzy Motorsports has been today. They are currently P14. There's only been 2 retirees in your club division. They were German Disaster Racing and Reverend Racing.
I mean, Fitzy was the one who let themselves down. They have nobody to complain about. They just touched the grass on the right. They crashed into the inside wall. There's nothing else you can really say about it. Now, of course, it was a racing incident. It's not like they even made that big of a mistake. We're talking a couple of inches to the right rear of that car, but that was enough to send it into a spin. I mean, you got to remember just how much grip the Porsche is expecting on that rear end as Sven Dummel works his way now into corner number 1 with a 10.2 second lead, and it is nothing but growing. So yeah, for Stefan Schlacker, there just doesn't seem like he's going to be able to catch up Sven Dummel, but yeah, it's just been one of those races where we thought that one thing was going to happen, and well, as it turns out, we were not correct.
Yeah, indeed so. So, having a look at Huge Ass, 11.3 seconds is the gap now over F4H Motorsports. And, well, the interesting thing is that Huge Ass have done everything they needed to do in this event. Qualify on pole. They've led. They've had an interesting strategy, but it's paying off for them at the end. Bitsy, we did say they just needed to finish in the top 5, and then they went and binned it.
Yes, they did. And there was like the premonition commentator's curse, Will.
Yeah.
I will say, though, Huge Ass didn't take tires on their last pit stop. So, hey, there you go. That's why you win the race.
Well, they didn't need to, of course. I mean, they are 13 laps so into a stint. They have got a little bit of traffic just ahead of him in terms of the Mazda MX-5 of the SimSport News race team. 3 minutes, 51 seconds remaining in this one. Well, this is when you want to kind of be a little bit careful. Bitsy are ahead on track right now. I'm not saying anything, but you always get a little bit of worry, Cam, don't you?
I mean, anything can happen. It's 11 seconds. It's going to grow. Here comes Sven Dummel. Down the front straight, downhill one more time. Oh my goodness. I'm looking around this track. I've been here so many times. I know where everything is, and this track is just, this is like the 2007 version of this track, and there's so many grandstands that are missing. It makes me sad. It was a 147.5, which means that it was 5/10 faster than Stefan Schlacker that last time by. Torque Freak Blanchimont is way off. They are just entering the toe of the boot, so it is just these front two cars. Really interesting how this race has developed, Will. I mean, we really thought that that Torque Freak car was going to be able to make it, and they ended up having to come in, so who knows?
Yeah, Team Vikings, by the way, right behind Berlin SimSport. They have closed up a lot over the last couple of laps. Here's a look at the gaps. You can see that over the last 3 laps, they have been almost 4 seconds faster than Berlin SimSport. Championship going away from them. Any ideas of that for Berlin SimSport? Here we are, though, with 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. And for Berlin SimSport, now they just got to hold on to P number 4.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well get it as good as you can, as Tony Loesch has got Tor Anders Berven, which is about as Vikings of a name as I think you can possibly ever get, is coming off of corner number 9 right now, a little bit loose. So I've got to remember that Ragnarok machine is the one that's carrying more damage between the two. And you know what? I think for me, one of the biggest things of this race was when Lamp and Loesch had that incident in corner number 8, the heel of the boot, Will. Because you know what? For all we know, that put more aerodynamic drag on that Porsche. That cost them more fuel as the long run for Torque Freak.
Yeah, indeed. So that might be worth thinking about, actually. Well, it is worth thinking about. It might be worth something that if we ever had to come back to and reanalyze this race, that would be one thing that might have been worth considering more detail. Up the hill, Team Vikings versus Berlin SimSport, the Lowy version. They'll have one more chance maximum after this to get the job done. In fact, they will head themselves down the back straight away. Now, is there going to be a defensive line taken by Bert? No. And actually, I will say one thing. The Team Vikings car, not good in a straight line, but Berlin SimSport locking up twice then into the carousel. Also, just having a look on social media, I was just wondering about Huge Ass. They're saying that, saving money on drivers, saving money on tyres. If they do spend 15 minutes, they can save 15% or more as well on their car insurance, Cam.
You can't get car insurance, Will. They're race cars.
You can get race car insurance.
It's expensive.
Yeah, I know. That's why spending 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on that as well.
Hey, good. I have life insurance, and there's an actual box that says I won't race a car for the next couple of years, which makes me sad.
Oh, as we have German Sim Racing just keeping, German Sim Racing, Team Vikings again, keeping that pressure on as we come down to the white flag lap now. One more lap to go. Well, in fact, we're not even going to make it one more full lap because into the final two corners for Huge Ass. And Huge Ass now, one more corner to go. The time should expire now. And Huge Ass on the final lap will take the checkered flag. And with that, the championship. Team Huge Ass win here at Watkins Glen International. And Team Huge Ass wins the championship.
Absolutely fantastic drive from the Huge Ass organization, and a wonderful job they have done in these Porsches. So congratulations to them. They did have a donut. They did have a non-finish at Zolder, but they won at Indianapolis, they won at Barber, and they did a fantastic job at Okayama, but they have finished just behind Low E, Berlin SimSport, and Vikings, which means that we have an entire lap to go with these two guys. They are neck and neck, and they're going through right now corner number 6.
Yeah, but like easiest opportunity to overtake, that one's been passed already, Cam, because that would have been into the carousel, but Team Vikings just don't look as though they have the straight line speed.
No, and that means they're going to have to hustle into the heel. That's the only chance they're going to have here. As I'm looking at everyone else has crossed the start-finish line outside of Sasha Lamp and Richard Yeager, which aren't fighting for position. So this is it. The last two cars on the racetrack for the end of the season, for the inaugural season of the Club Sport Championship, is going to be a fight for position, Will.
Yep. Tor Anders Bevan then. 2 corners now left to go after this one. Not quite close enough. It's about 4 car lengths between them. You're going to have to run it in hard into this corner. Nowhere. No chance at all. All that Berlin SimSport Lowy need to do now is exit this final corner. We have seen one issue here today. We're not going to see one on the final lap, however. It'll be Lowy Berlin SimSport in 4th and Team Vikings in 5th.
Yeah, great race in the Porsches. I could have wished we had a great race in the MX-5s. They had too many incidents, unfortunately. A couple of Porsche-assisted incidents, too. But congratulations to SimSport News race team as well, as they had one in the MX-5s.
Yeah, indeed so. So, we sometimes forget about the lower classes. But yeah, SimSports race team, Jacob Toft taking victory there. By a lap when all was said and done as well. So, here's a look at your final race results. Huge Ass, number 33 machine, takes the victory and takes the championship in the Club Sport Series powered by DGFX from Watkins Glen, USA. F4H Motorsport Redgate coming home in 2nd place, 12.6 back. Torque Creek Racing Blanchimont, they do get a podium then, 115.6 behind. Lowy Berlin SimSport come home in 4th, and Team Vikings, last of the drivers on the lead lap, in 5th. German Sim Racing in 6th, Torque Creek Racing Avon Rise in 7th, then Berlin SimSport, Team Vikings Berserkers, and the Apex Racing Group GT Red round out your top 10. The most important thing to note on page number 2 is Fitzy Motorsports. They had a crash right at the start of this event, and it put them out of championship contention. Over to the 6 drivers in terms of your sport division, and it's SimSport Racing News who come home with the victory. In the end, actually, by 2 laps over WR Racing B and Steen Rene Christensen at the end. Fusion Red in 3rd. Then you've got yourself WorldRacing.info in 4th, Zabel Motorsports in 5th, and then Fusion Racing round out your field. We're going to take a quick break here on RacespotTV and on iRacing Live. It'll be time for post-race interviews next. This is the Club Sport Series powered by DGFX.
chair of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerrick at the line.
Welcome to post-race coverage of the Club Sport Series presented by DGFX from the finale at Watkins Glen International, where Team Huge Ass were able to take themselves a victory and with that, the championship. We've got two of the team here now. We've got David Haynes and we've got Jeff as well. Well, let's start with whoever wants to talk first. Congratulations on winning the championship.
Hey, thanks guys. It's actually myself, that's Jeff, and Sven is the co-driver for this race, not David Haynes.
Oh, he's there, so I just want to say hello to him.
He's here
Trying to steal credit.
Yeah.
He's keeping us in line.
Okay.
Thanks for broadcasting. We had an absolute blast doing this championship, so a huge thank you to the DGFX guys for putting it on. Yeah, I'm really happy to come out with the win. Really great job to my my co-driver too. I'll let him jump in here.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the series. Mazda and the Porsche are just really working well together, and for the most part everyone seemed well behaved. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, the series, and I'm happy we could clinch the championship in the final round.
There was a couple of scary moments at the start of this event when I remember going up the hill onto the grass twice. It cost you the lead once, actually, when you were overtaking the Mazda MX-5. Just talk us through that one, how crazy it was.
Yeah, with the Mazdas, it was, difficult to predict which side of the track they would go to, whether they would track out all the way to the left or stay to the right. And that time, there were 3 in a row, and I remember the one in the back, the first one I was coming up on, looked like he was going right, so I decided to go left, but the lead 2 stayed left, and had to weave our way through there. So yeah, but that's what's great about this series. You have to kind of manage the traffic, and with the Porsche, there's so many talented drivers and teams, you end up really, really close on pace, and yeah, just a little thing like that can lose you the lead.
That was just my microphone not working. So, of course, you do get yourself the victory, you do get yourself the championship as a consequence. How does it feel to win this championship? And, well, what's next for the team? Because, of course, there's also some other racing going on at Watkins Glen right now, apparently.
Yeah, we have our teammates are racing at Watkins Glen in real life right now, so we are definitely gonna go and support them today and tomorrow. And yeah, we're really happy to win this championship, and we're looking forward to doing more with DGFX and maybe some other organizations.
Sponsors, shout outs. You carry on.
Sorry, if I could just jump in on that one, because I've been following everything that Huge Ass has been doing today, and we've just finished a 7-hour race in the Real World Champ Car Series, also at Watkins Glen, so 2 races at Watkins Glen today for our team. First place, really good job by Jeff and Sven here in this series, but we also managed to come across 5th of 28 cars in our class in the Champ Car Series. It's another 7-hour race tomorrow that's going to be live on our YouTube channel, so a great day for Huge Ass, therefore a great day for the world.
Indeed. Who do you want to give a shout out to from your guys? Yeah, there's a South Park reference in there. It's amazing. I like it. Sponsor shout out. Who gets it done?
Well, we definitely want to thank our primary sponsor, Dick Cider. So yeah, nothing like a Dick Cider after a tough race like that.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
we've got more. We've got more.
A little more. Just a shout out to the whole team. Alex, Tom, Travis, Evan, Nate. Trying to think of who else. Cofford, Fawcett, everybody, Clank,
Derby.
everybody, Derby. Yeah, everybody at the real race this weekend. Yeah, shout out to those guys.
Well,
I just hop in here for a second.
No.
Well, I have to. You'll like it. Okay. Out of all those people that you did not thank RacespotTV, why is there no RacespotTV sticker on her car?
We need to get one on there.
We'll put one on there.
Would y'all be willing to send us one?
Yes.
I don't know. I
We'll
don't
have
that
to-
department.
We'll have to run it by the CFO, but I bet we could work something out. We'd love to have you guys on the car.
Thank you. And of course, it will make you 0.2 per second faster, as is
Absolutely.
well known around the world. And that is Team Huge Ass, by the way, winning out in one division. We've got SimSport News and Jacob Toffs. Of course, they came home with victory in your sport division. Jacob, congratulations on what been a good win for that number 116. We all started off very crazy, and then by the end, you were by yourself.
Yeah, the first stint was a bit crazy. Half the field crashed out, and I just tried to keep it clean, and then I handed it over to Gianni, and he kept it clean, putting in some pretty decent lap times. And then obviously P2 had their crash with the Porsche, so I was left to just bring it home on my own, really.
Well, in terms of this race, those first few laps, of course, we heard the perspective from Huge Ass in terms of sorry, I just had some Dick Insider again then. We heard this perspective from Huge Ass in terms of the craziness, in terms of lapping all 6 of the Mazdas at the same time. Talk us through that one from your perspective.
Well, the closing speeds on the Mazdas from the Porsches was pretty insane at Watkins Glen, so we just had to keep it clean, had to hold our lines, and I managed to keep it clean and get 0x with no car contact somehow.
Well, nice. Of course, you weren't fighting for the championship here this afternoon. However, getting the win in the final round of the Clubsport Series presented by DGFX, how does it feel in terms of what had been a fantastic day's worth of racing?
This was a race I always wanted to win because it was Gianni's last race for the team since he moved to Talk Freak Racing. And he just put so much in. He'd been building setups, and he built a setup for this race, and it was amazing again. He just put so much into it. I really wanted to give him something back.
Well, who gets it done for your team? Sponsors, shout outs, pet goldfish, go.
I don't have a pet goldfish. I've got a pet cat, but that's it. I'd like to thank Enigma Motorsport. Even though he's not a sponsor, I want to thank Gianni for making the set and stuff like that, just putting the whole thing together.
Well, thank you very much then. That was SimSport News. And the race team, they come home with a victory here today, 116. There's a reason why there's no pet goldfish cam, because the cat probably would have eaten it.
You don't know that. The cat and the fish could have been best friends.
Doesn't work that way. Right, who have we got next?
Saying.
Who are you going to talk to?
I've been waiting. I thought I was going to talk to our winners in MX5s, but no. So we do have Louis Berlin SimSport. I think probably the paint scheme that was up there for one of the ones that we really liked. So we have Tony Loesch, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Way to go, splicing 2 paint schemes together and not making a mockery of it a la Bar F1. So congratulations for that. But alternatively, outside of that, you finished in the 4th position after starting 22nd. Tony, just kind of take me through the day. If only it could have been a bit higher. Perhaps you could have fought for the championship. But ultimately, though, a decent day here in the Club Sport Series.
First of all, thanks. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, okay. Just, you had a good day. You started in 22nd, and you finished in 4th. Did you have a good race out there?
The race was pretty fine, but we also have some...
Whoops. There we go.
Driver changed at the end, and of course the crash was not so nice.
No, the crash was not so nice. That was an incident with Lamp of the Torque Freak racing car. Did that affect the car a lot, or was it just the incident itself?
The car was pretty good after that, but the SS was a bit difficult after that because of he lost some downforce on the rear, so it was quite difficult to run that flat out.
Yeah, I can certainly imagine. And this season, the season's completed. Are you going to be back for next season? I mean, the Porsches are always entertaining to drive. They're always fun to drive. Are you looking to come back next season?
Pretty sure, yes. It was really fun to drive. The Porsche is a really great car, and the season is great, and I'm pretty sure we come back.
All right, so I'll give you the floor. Anyone you would like to give a shout out to or thank you before we let you go?
Okay, I will thank my mate Tobias. He did a great job. He's a great driver, and I hope he will drive with me in the next season.
All right. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to in your native language?
Ja, gerne. Ich würde gerne meine Mutter grüßen, die vielleicht noch zuguckt, und alle anderen. Meine Schwester, mein Vater. So, that's it.
There you go. So, Tony, thank you so much for hopping in the booth with us. Congratulations on the run here, and we'll hope to see you again.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
And there you go. Now we'll hand it over to Will and Mr. Will Vincent. Well, who else do we got here? I see we've got a couple of new people. We've got Stefan Schlocker. We can talk to Stefan.
Oh.
Okay, I can talk to Stefan. Will's gone. So, Mr. Stefan Schlocker, who is now muted. There we go. So, F4H Motorsport. First, I gotta say, who's the little character on the side door? Because we were trying to figure that out. We're not in the know.
That's Miku.
Really?
That's Miku.
Okay, all right. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay, that's fine. Anyways, the car went fairly all right. Just moving on. But you did finish 12 seconds behind the Mr. Jas machine. Take me through your day here at Watkins Glen. It's a tough racetrack when you're racing in traffic. Fitzy Motorsport had that incident super early on. I think it was almost right in front of you guys. Just take me through your day.
It's kind of like a day of two halves for us. We were quite confident sitting behind you, Chaz, all the time. We felt like in the early part of the race that we had the car to just overtake them and drive away, which we kind of did, but then had some unlucky moments with traffic, especially up the S's. And then when I jumped in, I expected to have more grip than I really had, especially at the rear, so I was really fighting the car, didn't get a rhythm in, which hindered a lot of our strategy, because we were quite confidently with getting either right in front of you, Jazz, out of the pits for the last time, or just behind. But with me more wheeling than dealing, it put quite a lot of question mark behind, and it's could have been better, but second place, what more do you want?
First place.
Second.
No, I'm sorry. I had to.
Yeah,
either way.
But it's our second race in the series. We're coming back from a 2-month break, Rui and me. So second place, it's like first place for us.
Yeah, and you and Rui haven't been obviously in the series for too long, so that leads me to the next question. You coming back next year?
If it is perfect for our timetable, then yes. We signed up, we did the first race, only scored 4 points in that one. So we are hungry for more.
There you go. So either way, a great race from you guys. The number 17 Porsche underneath your feet did a wonderful job. You've kept the car clean too. throughout the entire race. And of course, I'm always happy with the whole anime car shindig. So of course, thumbs up for me. So either way, who gets it done for the 4H Motorsport Red Gate machine? And who did your paint scheme, all that stuff, and why don't you have a race spot sticker on your car?
Well, first of all, we obviously have to thank our big sponsors in GT Omega and Aporia Customs. Obviously, we also have to thank our setup guy, Andrew Rogers, who did also spot for us the entire race. Great setup. It's like a year-old setup, but still driving perfectly. And yeah, RacespotTV, I don't know. Like, you have to come in contact with us. Like, it's hard to get sponsorship on our car because we have so high standards.
Okay, all right. No, I understand.
No, it's all fun and
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
obviously,
we hope
also
to see you.
Thank you guys for broadcasting this crazy race.
Yeah, it's Watkins Glen always is good fun for me, and thank you very much for having us on the show and everything like that. So for the Club Sport series, it's been very fun, and we hope to see you guys next season to see if you can put on a good challenge for that huge ass machine. So, all right, Mr. Stefan Schlacker, thank you so much, and you have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. So who else do we have? We have Sam Fitzpatrick is from Fitzy Motorsport, and Sam, unfortunately, I don't think you guys will have pulled it off and defended the championship. I think you guys are going to end up coming home in the second position, unfortunately, in the championship points. I have to ask the question, as difficult as it may be, what happened?
Well, I think Christian just got out on the grass going into the penultimate corner, and just lost the rear end. It's one of those things, just a millimetre too far, and that happens. But it's no worries. It didn't happen in practice for him, and he probably took that line every time. So yeah, it's just one of those things. A bit disappointing because the first 4 rounds were actually relatively consistent. I think we had a first, a second, and a couple of fourths. So that was our first major mistake of the series. So yeah, a bit disappointing. But maybe next season we'll be able to come back with some vengeance.
Certainly, and it looks to me like the tip of the spear, as it is for this series, this Club Sport series, this new series, is pretty sharp with the huge ass. With of course, a 4H is the F4H is going to be able to be around, and of course your cars, the Fitzy Motorsport machines. I mean, having 3 cars that are pretty quite quick and exchanging wins, that's always good. So hopefully we'll get to see you guys later, and just talk to me about the entire season, how you guys went and everything like that, and getting ready for next season.
Yeah, it's been, considering this is like the first season of the Club Sport series, the competitiveness is fantastic. Like, you of course all the teams that you mentioned, also Berlin Sim Sport, Talk Freak as well, Fusion took part in a few rounds. It's a really good quality league, this, and I think the organisers have done a great job. And this season for us, it got well with winner Okayama, and then kind of just maintained that for the next kind of 3 rounds. But huge ass, I think, fully deserved it. They got 3 wins across the season. At times they were just untouchable. I think at Barber they were just a second a lap faster than everyone else, and today they were superb. Indy, they were awesome in round 2, so they fully deserve it. So to do a low wee, they missed out on the championship by I think 2 points, so they were ultra consistent, so they deserved it as well. But finishing runner up to those 2 teams is nothing to be ashamed of.
No, not at all. And I say hopefully that means that season 2 of the Club Sport series will just be even closer between the 5 rounds, wherever the schedule leads them. But I can, at the very least, say it's been a good season. Next season, I can't say is on the horizon, because it obviously starts in January, and that's, at least according to my watch, a ways away. But either way, I'll give you the floor. Anyone like to give a shout out to, and thanks, and we'll let you go.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks to Demon Tweaks, our main sponsor. So thanks to them, and of course the Club Sport organisers, like I've already stated, they've just done a terrific job at this series. Congratulations to all the teams who I think got a free entry into the DGFX series in the autumn, so well done to those guys. And also thanks to Fight CRC. So yeah, thanks to those guys. And of course, thanks to you. I was actually driving in the SEO event earlier on, so I guess I've been in 2 RacespotTV races today. And of course, always great to have broadcast races by you. And maybe next season we'll get all the rounds covered in this series by you guys. So thanks for that.
Well, of course, I'm always open for more. I don't know if Will is, but I'm always open for more. But either way, Sam, thank you so much, and we'll see you. We'll catch you around.
Yep, see you later.
Sam Fitzpatrick of the Fitzy Motorsport team, the number 77. And I believe we have Lars Moldenhauer, and this is going to be the last broadcast, the last interview for the day. Torque Freak Racing, the number 61 machine, which ended up coming home in 3rd, so rounding out the podium. And, well, Lars, a good day, interesting day, slight incident halfway through, but ultimately, good race.
Yeah, we had a really good race. We didn't expect to be that far up the order, and we started out to basically a 2-stop race and tried to fuel save a lot, which would have been necessary to make it to the end. But about halfway through the second stint, I realized that's not going to happen. Even with the draft from Georg in the first stint, which was really helping, but still wasn't enough to make it to the end. He still would have had to do a splash and dash very late. So we basically switched the strategies halfway through the race and went to a 3-stop at that point.
Well, either way, you've managed to finish 3rd. You've had a decent season here with the Torque Freak. And with that, I mean, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to or thank?
Yeah, my teammates James and Georg from the Avon Weiss team, and Sasha as well, who all 3 of them did a double duty today doing the SCO race earlier today. And to our sponsors, GB Enterprise and Link Engine Management.
Well, either way, it's great to see a couple of Torque Freak Racing machines. Love to see the colors here. So thanks very much for joining us and being here, and hopefully we get to see you next season in the Club Sport Series.
I think that's it. Hello, I'm here.
Well, we have, hello, Will. We have Martin from WRB. We have to do it very quickly, and that's going to be your 2nd place in the MX-5s.
Oh.
Hello. Hi, Martin. Either way, 2nd place, MX-5s. There were only 7 cars, and it only got lesser. How was your day in the Club Sport Series in the MX-5s?
In all fairness, the whole of the team are overwhelmed, considering it's not the 2nd place is the big one, but we, I think 2nd is our highest, but we've been a mid-pack team all the way. But I don't quite know how, but we've come away with the Mazda win, so the whole team is ecstatic.
Yeah, worldracing.info ended up coming back in 4th position. You guys came home in 2nd position. There's only 21 points between the 2 of you, so most certainly could have. I'm not sure because I don't know how the points payout is, but most definitely. But either way, just take me through the series. It's obviously difficult being in the slower class between the 2 series. So just, how was it out there with the Porsches?
It's truth be told, to start with, the first couple of races were very hectic, but everyone's been pretty good through the series. The driving standards have only got better each race by everyone, and this series we've come down from DGFX to this, and it's been run really well. And like I say, everyone's been very, very cooperative, and I'd just like to thank Lee and Glenn, who started our team and unfortunately have been so busy with other things that they haven't been able to run. But it's been a massive team effort, because I think every one of our members has driven in this B car throughout the season. So yeah, it's been brilliant, to tell you the truth.
Well, there you go. Now, anyone you'd like to thank else before we let you go and go off to celebrate?
Just the organisers, like I say, run very, very well, and again, yourselves for broadcasting this race, and everyone that's participated.
Well, there you go. So either way, congratulations, Martin, and hopefully we'll see you next season. And we'll catch you around.
Thank you.
Well,
So,
that's
Will.
it. Hello.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was about to say hello, and we'll lean it back to Will.
Yeah, indeed. So worth noting. Want to give a shout out to a couple of people, of course, DGFX for their partnership powering this series. Also to Isman Balau, TrackCams22.com, Andres Warner and One Design, Simon Grossman, Appgeneering.com, and Nick Thyssen for RacespotTV live timing and scoring. Well, that is all we have time for here tonight from the Glen. Thank you so much. That guy's been Cam Walsh. I am Will Vincent, and good night from New York.